Hey, what is going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and Brian Scarborough, Fixed Air Moon, here for Spiritual Daddy on this total lunar eclipse. It's just clicking November 8th, 2022. Hope everybody's doing wonderful. It's good to be with you, Brian, on a lunar eclipse.
Yeah, it's pretty epic to be here with you on a lunar eclipse and doing this show right as it's happening. That's pretty epic. So
yeah, it's almost like we're kind of doing well, it is a live during.
It's kind of like a live eclipse showing that we all get to experience together. It's exciting. It's divine time, if you will. Literally, the most divine time.
Yeah, and I feel that it's important because, I don't know, one, it is the exalted moon that is eclipsing, and it is a total eclipse, and we won't see another one for 3 years. And we're lucky on the west coast of America. We've gotten the total lunar eclipses, a lot of them this last decade. So it's definitely not the first one for me to see, but kind of interesting too that the total solar eclipse that was August 19th, right? 2017. That one was on the west coast too. So there's been a lot of this eclipse energy that we've gotten. I remember going out in the day and seeing that one, and that was partial for down here, but it was close to total. But I feel like right now, this is just not your average lunar eclipse. I feel like I've been calling this one the conversion, like everything's converging, and I feel like everything over the last 4 years of all of our lives are coming to head at this point, and where they go from here is going to be fucking pretty crazy. I don't know what you're feeling about it.
Yeah, I think this is a huge eclipse. I got like crazy downloads this weekend about this eclipse and the importance of it, and just the place that we're at as a collective, and how we are seeing reality really, really start to change and shift. And there is that shattering effect from the last year in 2021 with Saturn and Uranus in square, and this year with Saturn and Uranus in square, and then this eclipse T square, that's Saturn in Aquarius.
Right.
So much of this is this like breaking away, I feel like, for so many souls, that is like going to another frequency. And it is this essence of Taurus that is so beautiful and grounded, and it's an exalted moon. So it's really releasing a lot of the Scorpio aspects in our life that we don't want. So if we're trying to move into a more, grounded, substantial reality here, we got to stop with the intensity and what we think might be a passion but isn't really a passion, and really putting the most passionate foot forward for legit physical value in life. And I think that really starts with the relationship to ourselves, really seeing ourselves in a confident, beautiful light, and really responding with the essence that we can create beauty in life instead of the trauma, instead of the negativity, instead of the destruction. Like, I do think we're in a time in reality, and just a time in the timeline we're on, where we're going to see destruction, but we're at a place now where consciously it's just time to start in your personal life responding positively with faith. And I think that Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces, if there's one beautiful aspect about that conjunction, that's the last time we're ever going to see it there, and it's not even going to be for very long. Jupiter leaves Pisces for good in December 20th? Like before the new year? So that's right around the corner. So yeah, it's just a really potent time of like channeling our faith into our physical reality, and really going forward with beautiful response to really beautiful things. And yeah, there's going to be a crazy reflection in the world. We're going to see, it's almost like there's just so many timelines converging right now that are splitting simultaneously. You just got to stay on your frequency and keep building what that frequency is to you. And whenever like a question comes up in your life or something you need to do, it's about really responding to what you are most passionate about and what really is going to leave you full. Because when you're responding to something that's keeping you in a negative place, or leaving you down and out, or having you feel like destroyed or abandoned by reality, you're giving your power away. And this is like the most beautiful eclipse and beautiful time, I think, for the collective to realize, take your authority back and start creating the life you want. And that was like the big download I got this weekend. that I felt.
I gotta say that is one just beautiful download.
It's a little airy and fairy, huh?
The fairy dust has gotten you really good. But I feel like you're right. I mean, I keep thinking of the nodes in Scorpio, when the North Node was in Scorpio. And we had the solar eclipse with Venus in 2014. And then 2013 was the North Node in Saturn conjunction with eclipses. And that is kind of the inverse here, where now we're in a North Node Taurus with Uranus, not Saturn, and Saturn squaring it. And so this brings up a lot of stuff that's converging, like I feel, from the last, especially since the Saturn-Pluto of 2020, but I feel like since Saturn's been in Capricorn and Uranus switched from Aries to Taurus, and how there's so much that's happened in the world and also the shift of the world. And we haven't gotten to the point yet. It's almost like Uranus is trying to help us find the point and help us ascend forward in ways that Saturn, in many ways, in Aquarius is trying to too. I feel like it's also kind of the deception of what's progressive and what's actually not progressing humanity forward, which that's kind of a weird discussion. But I do want to say that it's bringing up 2013 and 14 with the squares from Saturn of all that Scorpio, Saturn, North Node stuff. And everything that you just channeled about the beauty of this Taurus time, it's like, now it's time for Taurus. It's not time for the Scorpio. And I feel like we search a lot in Scorpio, whereas we don't really have to search in Taurus. It's the only searching we do is in our values and looking at what we have and appreciation of what we have and what we've been given and what we can do with it, opposed to the search for, like a detective with Mercury being in opposition to Uranus and square to Saturn and conjuncting the sun right now and opposing a total lunar eclipse. Like, this Mercury's not gonna find the buried treasure map, it feels like, because it's already kind of like right there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Mercury plays an interesting role being with the sun, being opposite this eclipse, having Mars in Gemini, which is an interesting mutual reception. Is we're having a Mars retrograde in Gemini, and of course Mars is a ruler of Scorpio, Mercury a ruler of Gemini, and having that, and they're going to make their quincunx later, and they're not there yet, but there's something about, like, the mind isn't gonna be the detective right now.
No.
And it's like being okay with that, and being okay that it's more of a feeling axis right now than a mental axis. And even with Mars squaring Jupiter and squaring Neptune and that midpoint in Pisces, like it's not so much of an act on this intellectual thing right now. It's more of acting on this feeling, more of acting on, like, what your passions are, what your values are. That's where I feel like instinctively, if you're just ready to be impulsive, it's there for you to be impulsive for those things. But it's almost like we can think ourselves into mental traps. And I think anxiety is, an issue right now for so many people. I think people are trying to think too much. And as a generator, I could tell you that's not going to be good for me and 70% of everybody watching this, or a manifesting generator. Like, we're not here to think.
Or even manifestors too.
Right, a lot of people. So if you're having a hard time mentally right now trying to uncover so much of your life or someone else's life or the government or what, like, it's not a time where thinking is going to get you very far. I feel like it's a never-ending spiral trap that's going to keep people consumed and kind of stuck in a purgatory, if you will.
Well, I think that's why Taurus is the place for the moon to be exalted, because it's like, it's stable.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing more better than our emotions being in a stable place, because emotions are moody and they are fucking, just look at a mood ring, or just look at fucking, I think that going through anxiety and panic disorder in my past, and of course, always having to stay on top of it, you realize that it's not so much the mind as much it's the mind and the emotions not understanding one another. And I think there's a lot of that with this eclipse, of course, because it's exact opposition of Mercury and the moon in an eclipse. But I also think that with Saturn in square to both, that instead of looking at everything as where the doors are closing or what is frustrating or what isn't moving fast, with Mars retrograde in Gemini square Neptune, there's no leadership. And so you have to step up into leadership, you know? Like, it's hard to find Neptune square Mars retrograde. Like, where's the leader? Who's the leaders? I mean, look at the president. Like, is that guy a leader? Like, I don't think so. And then who's the leader in the world right now? It's like, what? You think these collective groups like NATO or the climate fucking people are leading? And they don't, nobody knows what the fuck, or news networks or, you know, and so people, I think this has been a test of humanity for a long time, is people keep looking for leaders to follow, and that's Saturn in Aquarius, which reminds you that when we all try and follow the same leader or one person, or it just doesn't work out. We all have to learn, I think, through this transit, that the stability is in what you have and the connection to the things you have, the people that you have around you. And it's not so much, I think, looking for other people to be leaders in our life or help lead us, but, you know, remind us of our values, remind us of what's good within ourselves, and the tools that we have to make a difference in the world and in our own lives to make them better, and to stop tripping, you know? I mean, I think a lot of this is reminding with the North Node in Taurus to not trip, and that things are slower, but the slower stuff is better than the fast stuff right now. Like, it takes time to build anything that's good. And so, I mean, if I were to even take this pack of cigarettes, right? Like, they had to grow the tobacco, but then they had to make sure they get the farms. Then they had to fucking get the things, roll them all, package them all, ship them all, just to get 20 of them in my hand in a nice fucking paper box that was made from trees and all these other composites and all that shit, just to fucking print it out, and then fucking, you know, but then it gets to me, and then I have to get a lighter, which then they got to make, you know what I mean? Like, life is not instant. And
and we've been like trained to live this like instant gratification life right now too, which I think makes it hard. But I love what you were saying about Saturn, because I feel that way, and just Saturn being in that T square, and like Saturn's a big part of this time that we're living. And I think with Saturn in Aquarius, it is about like breaking free from the idea that somebody else is going to lead you, just like you said, that someone else is going to govern and lead the way. Like, sure, we have governments in this world, but, you know, at least in America, the government was here to serve the people. And I think that we got to get back to a similar place, but we have to do that by governing ourselves and like really taking that authority and that power back into our own lives and building a foundation around that. I mean, I feel like majority of the people on this planet would rather govern themselves and just be a decent human than be governed by some governing body. I don't know. Maybe that's my Aquarius shit talk.
No, I think you're right. I think that if you add to your point, there's been so much of the Saturn-Uranus square over the last year and a half that it's frazzled people, right? It's like frazzling. Like, there's been so much where we feel like finally this is moving forward and coming out, or nope, then Saturn's like, no, there's all this, you know, wanting freedom, and then no, let's mandate you. Right? We've been through all this crazy Saturn-Uranus energy, and then Saturn and Aquarius alone, right? But then you add Neptune in Pisces, and now Jupiter that's been in Pisces and now retrograde with Neptune again. And then there's that energy of like just wanting to just say, fuck it, I'm just gonna, you know, we've seen the highest alcohol rates. We've seen, just even in yourself, you might just want to take that extra hour of sleep, or maybe, fuck, I'll just take half the day to not do as much, or zone out, or watch a video, or watch a movie, and and that's okay. I think that part of it's okay. I just think with North Node and Taurus, it's, as long as you just show up and get something done, you know, you can have your little slower moments here. Like, it's okay. Like, I think people are stressing off, I need to get this done now, or I need to have it. And it's like, the process is moving really slow. You know what I mean? Like there was a joke always in the military, hurry up and wait, because they always scream at you, make sure that you get your orders, and make sure you get to the yeoman, and make sure you get to the health. And you're just like, okay. And then you get there and it's fucking like, oh, I forgot. I'm in a fucking military with over 1 million active duty people. I'm in the Navy with fucking at least fucking hundreds of thousands of us. And it's like, oh, and on this base, there's this many tens of thousands. And in this room right now, there's 1,000 in front of me. It fucking sucked. It was like, hurry up, get there, and then wait forever. And it would be like, I've been in this room for 12 hours and nothing's happened. And you can't be like at the DMV even, be like, can I have somebody to talk to? No, you'll get your ass fucking handed to you. So I feel like it's one of those moments where...
You can hurry up and wait like the rest of them.
The rush energy is not helpful to the anxiety energy, or helpful when Mars retrograde is squaring Neptune, especially in Gemini. That's where you miss signals. I was just thinking when we went to Texas, I got a speeding ticket for 102 miles an hour. I thought I was so good, right? We were halfway, we were over. I made it to Texas, and I was doing 100 plus the whole time, and we were good. And then I was actually doing like 117, and then I forgot. I was looking like, oh, we could stop Van Horn. It's coming up. And I looked at my GPS. And I didn't realize there was a cop right in front of me. And I was doing 102 and he got me. I just paid the ticket for it last night. So I was laughing because I'm like, that was when Mars was squaring Neptune. And I wasn't paying attention to like fully what I was really doing with speed or this. Or you think you're paying attention to everything, but you're really not paying attention to the subconscious parts. Mm-hmm. And you can fly by things, and then, Saturn square Uranus also is like, hey, you can't break all the fucking rules, you know what I mean? Like, which I think that's kind of funny, is that they're touting out right now that there's a bunch of people in this election that want to break rules, where I kind of find it funny from the people who've been breaking the rules are saying that the most, like, where the people who are trying to come in are trying to stop the people breaking the rules. That's the very weird Uranus.
It's so weird. It's like
Saturn shit.
It's just like, it's that projection of like when someone like is a liar.
I know.
And they're always like trying to like put the lie on someone else. And it's like that.
The boy who cried wolf.
But it's also very, it's very gaslighting.
Oh, big time.
And that's the thing that we all have to be aware of. And I think most people are that watch this channel, is just how gaslighting the media is right now in our lives. And, especially looking at where the sun's at with the South Node, and a dispositor of Scorpio is Pluto in Capricorn, and it's finishing up there with Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. I mean, I'll be honest, my confidence in any sort of integrity in governments is very low right now. Very, very, very low.
Well, and that's coming from a Capricorn too.
Oh God, I wish I could say that it was there, but I don't have a lot of faith in that. I'll be honest with you.
Come from a Capricorn.
I don't have a lot of faith.
I have faith in the Republic. I just think that, with the Republic, there's checks and balances, and they take time too. Like the mandates I told everybody last year, just hold out because it's illegal. And then the federal courts deemed it illegal and stopped them. And then, you know what I mean? It was like one of those things where it was like, those processes take time. It's not like you get a call, the Supreme Court doesn't get calls. Like, hey, there's an illegal thing happening. Get into your chamber. Get into your fucking judge gowns and get over here. It's not like that.
No.
It's got to get on the docket, and they have to be willing to accept it. If there's an emergency, there's one justice that can step in and like stop things for a second, but that's usually on the federal level when it deals with like a politician or a senator or somebody that's like in a position of a local or government power individually, usually. Yeah. But
I do think that the kinks get ironed out. I think it's kind of like you said, like patience, and things are going to take time, and like the universe is naturally going to work the kinks out, and things are going to get in order. wouldn't be surprised if right off the bat, coming into like next week or something, like if they look like they're in order, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know.
You know what I'm saying? So I do think things get, sorted out properly eventually. But that's the thing, is it's like patience. And patience is a virtue, and it's not easy right now. We're all kind of...
I know. And well, some people are saying in the chat that the system is corrupt. But
Well,
I think it's more about the people who are using the system corruptly. Like, there's a big difference. It's not that the system itself is corrupt. The system's set. I mean, it's like you move into a house, you choose to be a corrupt person in that house and break the law and run an illegal business or run a drug fucking ring, or, like, people are taking the system and making corrupt choices with it. It doesn't mean that the system itself is corrupt when it's a republic and it's the only one that's ever been where the people rule the people, and there's not even a rulership. It's the people serve for the public good of the people, and that we are individually free and have our own rights to do what we want to do.
Yeah, that's
and
that's
then we set state laws and we set federal amendments. And that's how it's to be. But now we've gotten into massive regulations, which Saturn is very regulatory. So Uranus and Saturn squaring, and the North Node Uranus is trying to break up all these regulations. And especially, it's been weird to see it from states, especially like us here in California, where it's like the most beautiful state in the country, the one that has it going on, that's bigger than most countries, the 5th largest economy in the world, is fucking doing all this stupid shit and destroying it, and people are just like, oh yeah, but they're fucking doing this and doing that, when they're really just taking away more and more and more rights and losing more money and losing more people and losing the trust of parents and losing the trust of fucking everybody. It's just and doctors and all these things. It's like regulations are corrupt by those who knowingly throw them out there and see if the people just don't. The people are the ones that have to push back. That's the whole thing. And then they're now creating a narrative of like, you can't push back, Right. That's the crazy part.
It's like we need to remember, if we're part of this republic, that the government actually works for us.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like we, as a collective, or even just as a United States of America or as an American, kind of forgot that. And we're kind of just taking... I would say it's getting better now, but like 2020 was a good example of like a lot of people just took it.
Yeah.
And that's where I would say Saturn is trying to disrupt things. Like some rules, what's that, that saying? Like some rules are meant to be broken.
Right.
There's some rules and some different, in some ways out there that are meant to be broken so that we can kind of further things and progress. Because the way it is currently is just not working out. It's not the way it was designed. Our founding fathers would fucking roll, or they're rolling over in their grave right now.
I know.
Looking at the way things are being handled.
Big time.
So we got to remember, like, to take our power back as individuals and actually do something and create something of value without just rolling over and taking it. It's not a time to take it from positions of power, in my opinion.
No, and I read a lot of comments, and they're talking about get rid of the cabal, and it's like there are just some people too that are just fucking, they got in, they took their oath of office, and they then get talked to by different lobbyists and people that say, just vote this way, and here's some money. And of course you could say the cabal or whatever is behind all those lobbyists or what. But there's also, it comes down to people who might not be in a cabal, who are just fucking greedy, and they want a nice car, they want a nice house, or they want something that they couldn't get maybe at their prior job or something like that. And then they're in the government, and then they know how to scratch the right people's back to get better things and sell the country out in many ways. And so, it's about really remembering people, because looking at the history, this country's always had people who are fucking finding their best way that they can. I mean, the most craziest cabal was the fucking whole the new deal of FDR and fucking creating Social Security and all these crazy things that were against. Even the Supreme Court originally ruled Social Security was not supposed to be done. And then, of course, justices changed and they made it illegal. So you have to remember that, like, the original Constitution was that we're not supposed to be taxed. And
What
even
happened?
the idea of the income tax at the beginning of the 1900s is illegal, technically.
It's straight up robbery.
You know what I mean? And
It's
so
straight up
to the
robbery.
idea that the cabal of now is, you know, that it's gotten so bad. Well, it's been really bad fucking before.
I don't really subscribe to the whole cabal thing. It's just one more thing that we give our power away to.
Yeah.
Oh, these people are fucking ruining my life. I hate to break it to everybody. We got to stop these peopling. It's a dumb excuse. Like, stop these peopling your way out of a beautiful life. This eclipse.
Yeah, you got to kind of link in it. He was against all odds. If you want to talk about a cabal, talk about the Democratic Party of the 1850s. The Whig Party was done. And so he ran for senator in 1858 and lost. And so it wasn't until 1860 when he ran for president, and he ran up against the guy who he lost to in the Senate running for president now against him. And he had to run against the guy he lost in a national election now for the president, and won. And with a new party and with ideas that he knew half a country wanted slavery and the other half didn't. And he stood his ground on freedom for all people and fucking won.
He was an Aquarius, right?
And he's Aquarius. That's
Okay,
kind of the
he
whole, you know how I've been on Aquarians. Like, come on, Aquarius, we need to see some fucking Aquarius. Because I hate having to be the Aquarian when I'm a fucking Leo. It's getting old. Like, if Aquarius has come back and be Aquarians and be wild and rebellious again and fucking shit, you will make me happy as a Leo, because I'm getting tired of being the Aquarius in the room. I'm really getting tired of it.
It's
or
so
on
close to their
YouTube, or,
time.
you know, I'm getting tired of it.
Like, Pluto in the 12th is gnarly. So they're coming into that time right now. So Aquarians are going to step up and change the world, and I think many of them are feeling it now. They just had to go through some fucking, fucking since 2008 of Pluto in the 12th. Like, that's fucking...
Yeah, but all the, like,
Some
okay,
heavy
I was
shit.
thinking of Capricorns, right? When Pluto was in Sag. Like, I look at Mel Gibson, and that was when he
Oh, he thrived.
fucking thrived, but
Yeah.
then he also did his Passion of the Christ, right? And fucking got kicked out of Hollywood. And, in 2000, he did The Patriot. He did a bunch of things that, you're just like, wow, this dude's fucking calling some shit out. That dude, like, I got all Mel Gibsoned out in the last, like, couple days with Mercury being in fucking Scorpio. I was like, let me look at some old Mel Gibson interviews. And I found one from 98 where he's talking about Hollywood and how dark it is. But he's like, you can't let it get to you, and you still got to be here to do the work. And, you can do it. You just have to be aware of it, and you can still navigate through it. But you don't, you come in kind of naive, and then you learn it and you see, and what feels odd, you just don't do. He called Christopher Walken the most creepiest dude and dark dude ever. And even when he was in New York and Christopher Walken just walked up to him at a hotel in New York on the roof, he couldn't get away. And when he looked over, there was 666 fucking like on the building opposing. And he was like, that's fool's fucking the dark devil. And he turned down the project. But it's like crazy because I was like, damn, fucking. If you ever see Mel Gibson, he's always.
I just saw this before we started the show, this meme. And I
Oh,
thought
which
it
one?
was
Oh,
so
yeah, let's
funny.
look at it. I'd love to see it. I love Mel Gibson. Fucking, he's a man.
I mean, it's not super relevant to our conversation, but it's
Moms
a
in the
fucking
90s
awesome photo of
watching you
Mel
open up
Gibson.
Christmas presents. It's so true.
That's my homie Matt Tozer. That used to do turf.
That was
He's
Mel-
actually friends with Clay Guida.
Oh,
the
really?
MMA fighter. He commented. On
Oh,
that
shit.
and laughed. That's actually the real Clay Guida. Yeah.
But it's funny because, that's like Mel, like actually in the 80s during
Just
Lethal
a
Weapon.
good Mel Gibson picture, and you just happened to bring him up, and I was like, God, I was just looking at an epic photo. Of
Well, I
him,
think
so-
he's an epic Capricorn,
He is. I a lot of respect for
Well,
Mr.
I mean, he
Mel.
fucking won the Oscar for Best Director of Braveheart, which he also fucking was the lead and star in. And that movie was extreme in 96. That movie was gnarly. And it had thousands of people. They even called up amputees being like, who doesn't have a leg? We got a part for you. And then they put a fake arm on, and when they chopped off the arm, it looked real because they already didn't have an arm or a leg. He's like, it felt real weird when, you go in the office and you hear people on the phone like, is it your left leg? We're looking for some righties. Some people that don't have their right leg. Thanks. But that's pretty fucking Capricorn boss shit when you are a big actor and then you take on, he created Epic or Icon, I think it's called, productions, and fucking that took on those fucking big deals and made and became the director and fucking won the Oscar. And then that also won the Oscar for Best Film. So he got 2 Oscars. And they may say, oh, well, he didn't get an Oscar for Best Actor. It's like, no, the motherfucker directed the movie that he's the lead actor in. I would say, and it got Best Movie. I would say that's better than being Best Actor. I'd say that's like, you're the best movie, you are the movie, and you directed it. That's pretty much the best that you could be. So I think of why are Aquarians, I think Aquarians are kind of like in a creative phase. Mm-hmm. Like, if that makes sense. I think Pluto in the 12th is a very deep creative phase, but it's also a deep look at like who you are and the tests and the shadows of the reflections of your soul and what's it here to do and where is it going, especially for them, like what's their quest and their destiny in a big way. But I feel like Capricorns and Aquarius, that's with both of them being ruled by Saturn, with Pluto both in their 12th houses, that's also been Saturn's 12th house transit for longer, since the whole beginning, the end of the 90s to now, has been this Pluto in the 12th for the Saturn ruled energies.
Right.
And so, we're getting with Pluto and Aquarius, then it becomes the Neptune and Jupiter 12th house, right? So the illusion and also the deception and all that stuff starts crumbling hard. Which actually goes well with Nostradamus's predictions.
Yeah, that stuff that you're showing me with Nostradamus, and even just the work that you've put in to crack some of that math and his code with the astrology, I'm just like, damn, dog.
Yeah, today I looked like probably a crazy person.
It kind of reminded me of that meme with all the fucking math and the dude fucking.
Oh, that's what everybody sends me, that meme with that guy and talk about astrology. Like, that's been you fucking for like a decade. I'm like, I know. Fucking
smoking a cigarette.
Like, fuck. Actually, I took a picture because I had to put it for the class. They wanted to see. They saw the drawing on video, but like they want the hard copy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, I'll send it to my. It's funny because like this is my chicken, but if you actually like look at whether it's Isaac Newton or any of them, they definitely kind of have that, hey, I'm gonna fucking draw it all down and write shit down and see what the fuck happens. And all right, this thing should connect here. All right, and here I got it. And so this is my Nostradamus and why did I do it on this side of the fucking like envelope on the back side?
Maybe
right?
There's a code in there too.
Right.
Where
but
splits.
This is like years code where it's kind of hard, but it's 1761, 1789, fucking coming up with my own Saturn cycles and going all the way to 2231 into 2261, like, and coming up with my own codes. And we're in the 96 one right now. And by 2025, we come into a very special zone that I'm finding where the X's are the Roman numeral 10, but also kind of where was it? But like, like 1613, there was an X that I found. Like this is the shit I do with astrology and shit. And how funny, this is from FTB, California. This is Franchise Tax Board. I'll probably frame this, to be honest with you, when I'm done. But like that's kind of the craziness we're in. Is that, there's so many ways to prophesize. It's kind of I think it's an important part of astrology is to put out prophecy.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a blueprint and if it's a guide for us here,
right?
That's what astrologers we're here to do, is to use that to make predictions, to help kings win their battles,
right?
To help people thrive, to all these different levels of it. But it was by making predictions and saying, no, this is the wrong time. Now's the right time. This is what's happening.
Right. And so I'm also reading People Loved History in the Stars on Friday. Thanks.
That was a great one.
I know that Anne would appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was actually probably the most interesting History in the Stars I think we've done.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
And I just feel that, so here's some interesting stuff. I have a video coming out 4 a.m., but I don't show the astrology. I just talk about it. I show more the history, but it may be because you have your computer up, we can look it up. It's November.
We're looking at the chart?
Yeah, it would be November. Well, it's 20. The North Node is at 22 degrees. And the sun, it would have been around 20 degrees Taurus, the lunar eclipse of 1854. So like November 13th, try that somewhere in there of 1854. And you'll be mind blown. You'll be mind blown. Oh yeah, go backwards. At the moon.
Oh yeah, at 22.
At 12. Now, what do you see in this lunar eclipse chart that you see fucking in the one that we got today?
Uranus and the moon, Venus
in Scorpio, the sun in Scorpio,
Jupiter in Cap,
Neptune in Pisces, and Neptune square Saturn.
Uranus.
Uranus.
Saturn retrograde where Mars is retrograding.
Yeah. But North Node Uranus.
Yeah.
Sun, Venus, Scorpio, eclipse.
Pluto was with...
And Pluto was in Taurus, yeah. And Pluto was... Yeah. But this is the kind of shit I do in my fucking sideline shit. This is like what I do in my head.
Mars
this is how
opposite.
I think.
This is very interesting.
Right? That like, welcome to the last time you saw North Node Uranus eclipse with Neptune Pisces.
And this was
right? How fucking gnarly is that?
This was before,
Oh, that's Hypergate.
Oh yeah, it's the GFX2.
Don't worry, I know how to.
What was going on in 1854?
Bleeding Kansas began.
That's when it began. It wasn't 1856.
Oh, GFX2. There we go. It was 1854 through, all the way up to the end of the 1500s or 1850s.
And it was Jupiter with it in 1856.
Yeah, Jupiter was 1856. The crazy election shit was 1855. And then there were so many skirmishes and battles and the election fraud.
Which was really all the preamble to the Civil War.
Correct. So this was the lunar eclipse that created a massive division in the country, which is called the Tragic Prelude. So, are we about to go through that after this midterm election?
Probably.
That's a very high probability.
That's, yeah.
I
channeled that stuff at the beginning, but also knowing damn well that reality is about to look nothing like what I channeled.
Right. It's kind of interesting. We're doing this one at 16 degrees. Uranus was retrograde, so Uranus had reached, I'm pretty sure, 16 degrees that year.
Probably right around there.
And Chiron was in Taurus at 17, where now Chiron is in Aries, a square point to that. Like everything's kind of in a weird square point, like Pluto at the beginning of a fixed sign. We're getting ready for that, coming to Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Pluto would add, I think, a lot more intensity with Pluto and Uranus coming together and the lunar eclipse being smack dab between those two.
Whenever I see an outer planet at 15 degrees of a fixed sign, I'm like kind of raising my eyebrow a little bit.
Right.
Which is where we're at with Uranus, coming back to retrograde over that 15-degree mark. And here we are with this one. And it just shakes things up, makes semi-squares to Aries and to Cancer, and these are cardinal points, and they're sensitive points, these cardinal pillars. They shake things up, and Uranus shakes things up too. What's interesting is this little guy over here is Poseidon,
right?
Which Poseidon in our chart currently is opposite. It's with the sun. It's at 15 degrees of Scorpio,
right?
Which I think is an interesting one too, because Poseidon, it rules like enlightenment, if you will, and as that trans-Neptunian planet. So there's this there is this depth of enlightenment that is here. And even the South Node in Vedic astrology, right? K2 kind of has like sort of an enlightenment sort of quality to it, almost like it's non-physical. So it's more metaphysical, right?
Right.
So there is something about tapping into this higher level of our soul to get through this very unstable, changing reality that I think is a ticket here for people, but you're going to have to respond.
Will you do me a favor and look back at the solar eclipse for that year by just going to the search and doing eclipses next hour?
Yeah, I could just go forward a couple weeks.
No, just like the one that was, if they had a Taurus solar eclipse like we had this year, by just pushing that search button. Like, no, if you go, see where it says hour up, if you get out of that, just get out of that.
Oh, yeah.
And then pushing the search. No,
the
search. There you go. And then go to solar eclipse and then push previous. Push previous. Backwards. So you go backwards.
That I did. Yeah, that's...
No, so go forward again. Right. Oh, yeah, May 26th. What was it? Oh, it was in Gemini. Huh. A little different than what we got going on here. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. There was one at 27 Scorpio too.
Oh, that followed it. Oh, yeah. That's interesting. With Mercury retrograde and Venus South Node and Mars crossing the last degree of Sag, and that was 27. That was square Regulus exactly at 27 Leo. And Jupiter in Capricorn.
Jupiter was making nice aspects to all that.
Yeah, but still, yeah, that was a...
Chiron too. Even Chiron and Capricorn was like in a better position than it is now. We're all dealing with this wounded masculine ego.
There was a lot of fucking tension that snapped at the end after those eclipses in the country. And that's what they call the Tragic Prelude. And it's very similar to what we're going through now.
A lot of similarities.
You know, of course, not the same eclipse cycle per se, but the same nodal transit with certain eclipses in it and different sorrow cycle, but... And also Mars in opposite sign. How interesting, right? Like, you know, Mars definitely not going retrograde. So that's kind of crazy. I
looked at the sorrow cycle for this eclipse, and I just thought that one of the interesting things that I saw was all the way back to like 1930 was Republicans were winning elections.
Right.
Which I thought was just interesting, just to see as I kept going back.
Well, yeah, especially if you look at the Republican chart, it's way better suited than the Democrats' party's chart.
Right. It's got Pluto on their Uranus, and
Yeah, and then you look at the progressions of the
I
Democratic
remember we were
Party.
looking at that. There was a lot.
It's like
going
Mars
on.
retrograde now, and all this Neptune shit, and all this really bad squares, and progressed moon coming into Pisces. I'm pretty sure, like America has got progressed moon Pisces now. But yeah, like I think overall, thinking about the elections per se, right? Like it's kind of like one of those things where we definitely are at a place where I feel it's, I mean, all the polls are showing it's Republican, and then they like kind of tinker around, and it's weird because it was always that, and then they tried to do right after the Roe versus Wade thing in the Supreme Court. They tried to show that it was it swung fully the other way, and then now it swung back around. It's like that. Like there's been a couple interesting pollsters that have been like, nah, it never swang. They just tried to do the same thing again to try and convince people. And when you see Obama with Biden, with Fetterman this weekend, that's desperation.
The whole Fetterman thing is
Fucking
desperation.
weird.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. You would think
weird.
they would want somebody cognitive that can make change and be, I don't know, something. But no, they just want another talking head, someone who will take
He's not
orders
even a
and
talking head.
read off a teleprompter, and I don't know.
He's not even a talking head, though. That's the thing. He can't.
But
he
it's
can't.
so courageous that he would even consider doing this.
I don't even think he even knows what he's doing.
I don't think so either.
Especially that NBC reporter being like, he couldn't even understand our conversation till we brought out this thing. And even during that, he didn't understand that. And I just think the funniest meme this weekend was when he went to talk this weekend and all the American flags behind him flew down.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah. Like the second right before he talked, like 6 American flags were behind him, and the wind was so much that they just flew down, and he had no idea. He's just sitting there. I'm John Fetterman.
John Fetterwoman.
It's just like, oh my God, dude. Like that's a sign from the universe, It's a sign.
Yeah, just like the fly on Pence's head. Then Pence
Yeah,
turns out
exactly.
doing
I know.
all that shit.
Fuck. Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. The universe is definitely talking all the time. It's fucking weird, dude. Our government is fucking weird.
Well, I think what's weirder than the government is the banking system.
Oh.
Because I feel like the government's, of course, involved with that by the money. So the idea of like raising the interest rates by the feds and the central bankers is to bring down prices, but also to stop the economy. But it's all this money that we fucking, well, not, I guess it's we because it's our money, the people, it's our tax money, that we borrow from the central bankers. When they raise the rates, all that money, which is fucking, I forgot, it's like 60-something% of all the money that we've ever created was created in the last 2.5, 3 years. So all that money we borrowed, now our interest payments as a country go up. So we're now having to pay more money.
Mm-hmm. For less.
Yeah, so it's like the idea like, yeah, we're getting you all this money to do. And even the Inflation Act thing made no sense. It was like, what do you mean? They're going to raise the rates. So you're causing more inflation and you're causing us to pay more debt. And when Biden says, oh, I'm taking the deficit down, it's like, you're actually not, because they don't count the debt increases of payments. It's so weird. It's like foolish math per se. And I think with this being all Taurus Scorpio, this deals with money. This deals with the exchange of money. It deals with loans. It deals with exchange rates, interest rates, currencies. And I think a lot of people are feeling it. I think everybody's feeling it. I don't think one person's not feeling it. You could see a big difference in the last 1.5, 2 years compared to 2 years prior to that.
100% in the financial axis. And it's definitely not hitting in like the best way for it.
No.
And we're seeing that. I was just looking at Bitcoin's chart. Bitcoin's took a big hit today. It's been dropping the last 2 days, but today
I
was
already
a
knew.
pretty substantial one. Yeah, you were good. You just sold. You got out.
Oh, it's down to 19.
Yeah, I think we're going 12.8.
I know. Yeah,
12 to 8K.
I'm waiting to buy when it goes way farther down. I knew last weekend when it went to 20,800. I was like, this is a real good top to get out. And then I saw it this weekend go to 21, which would have been a good place to get out too right now this weekend. But like the euphoric energy was because when you're looking at all the data of the labor market, the unemployment, the Fed rates, the mortgage crisis we're in now, the housing crisis we're in, the international crisis that we're in with monetary funds, and the UK crisis, which is the worst now. The UK just became a third world country with money that I was like, there's just no way. Even Bitcoin's value it's less volatile though than the S&P 500 now, and a bunch of other stocks and even commodities. So it's definitely a stable place, but it's
the last few months it's been
going to correct with the whole market that collapses, and it will still be there, but it's definitely not moonshot time.
It's just not like South Node Scorpio. It's just not investment time.
No.
It's like creating real substance. It's not that can't be real, but you're putting it in the hands of another person or another institution to make you the money, or another market. It's time to create. Right. Taurus is creation, self-sufficiency. Anytime you're being self-sufficient right now, you're winning. If you think that a market or a government or whatever it is outside of yourself, or even a partner is going to make you, he's going to give you the moonshot in life, like it's not. It's some big illusion.
Yeah, it's the creation of things, whether that's art especially. You got to think Taurus, it's art, it's things that we create, it's things that we actually make from our own soul. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say, we don't make Bitcoin from our soul. No. Some guy or woman has got a mining operation with a bunch of GPUs, and they've just they're basically making sure that they don't overheat, and that that it's the lucky catch of whenever those streams of Bitcoin or a bit of code are coming in, right, of crypto codes, that it gets sent out to all of them, but whichever one is not mining so hard and accepts the lines of codes that happen to have maybe in some of those, codes, there's more money, and some that aren't, and it's kind of a luck of the draw of the fees that are paid in that moment of whether or not your system gets a good line of code or not.
Right.
Like that's really all it is, and making sure the GPUs are running and not overheating.
It's so
what I mean?
It's a lot for a little. The mining's an interesting game. Like, especially you're participating in the system, which I think is necessary, and you're confirming most of the Bitcoin miners aren't even really mining the Bitcoin. They're confirming transactions and getting a transaction fee
through a computer system that they're made, that they have paid for. That's really, if people were to see what the computer looks like, it's a big computer with a shit ton of fucking GPU cards.
Yeah, exactly, with a bunch of graphics cards.
To be able to handle the processing power and the creating of the digital processing of those lines of codes that come in. And their energy prices are so high now because everybody's energy price is up. So you're losing money with that, and then you're losing money when, to keep it cool, or to keep the lights on, or to keep all of it going. That's why, like you said earlier,
anybody's never seen.
Oh yeah, and that's a little one
this
too.
This is just like something you could put in your house if you want to Bitcoin mine. They make
that
huge
would not
ones.
That would not make a lot of money.
That
might pay your electric bill for it,
but they make this is
like that big, like that's, but rows of that.
Yeah.
Real miners, rows of all those GPUs.
And that's it.
And those are all air cooled too, you know, like to do liquid cooled. Some of them do liquid cooled, and that's kind of a bitch, but it's more money, but you can, it also takes more energy, and it takes a lot more power. And how many watts? I mean, you're talking about fucking
And the heat
shit.
that those pump
And the
out
heat, yeah.
is substantial.
Although I met a guy who is pretty smart. They have a Bitcoin operation that they do while at the same time they're like a grow house, right? So when they switch the lighting from the 12 hours on, 12 hours off, and then they're using like jet turbine engines to create energy and then make renewable, energy from the methane from the cows. Mm-hmm. So it's like all in one house, like it's mining Bitcoin, it's renewing energy from methane from cows.
Wow.
Into a jet turbine engine that's built in a big warehouse that's turning the power while growing marijuana and fucking
that's impressive.
Having the lights and knowing when in those 12 hours on, 12 hours off that they turn everything to different modes. I'm like, that's fucking the future for sure. Like that's okay. If you're doing that, that makes sense.
Yeah, which is super
like,
cool because sure, he's using it for growing weed and like whatever, mining Bitcoin, whatever. But like, think about all the other ways you could use that system, right? Like that is amazing. Yeah.
That's and actually it's the Central Valley here in California that has become the renewable like place of the world with using methane from cows and other renewables. Of course, they're trying it with our diesel, which I'm sorry to say is not perfected. Or what a lot of people don't know at this moment, the gas they're putting in their tank that Biden did do is, and to make it look like the prices are going down, which let's be honest, the prices are not down, is they've added more ethanol. So like, and the original 10% ethanol was supposed to be max because it will fucking clog your fuel lines. Ethanol is bad. Even 10% of it. Like the cheapest gas already has got 10% ethanol. Now they're doing 20, 25, even 30% ethanol in this. And they're not, because it's under like an emergency, they're not putting it on the fucking fuel fucking station. So when you go up to the pump, it'll say maybe up to 10% ethanol, but that's not the truth. Like they're actually just like lying to the people and saying it's gasoline when, could you really call it gasoline when it's fucking got 30, 25% ethanol now? Like, and it's going to fuck up your tank and it's going to make your engine misfire and shit like that. Like my brand new S-Class, when I filled up the last time in Arizona, like the motherfucking, the motor, that's a brand new fucking car. The motor was not fucking idling that good.
No shit.
Yeah. And then when I fucking came here, it's funny because California, there's actually non-ethanol places at Chevron's here. And so fucking came back to normal. But a lot of the Midwest and a lot of these places for people to vote Democrat, that's what they're doing. And there's no more, I don't even know, like it's so weird, the idea of the pandemic you don't see Fauci the last week, 2 weeks. You don't see the CDC. You don't see, it's like everything that the voters are pissed about, they just acted like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And they're waiting for the election, and then you watch the next couple days after it will be Fauci back up before he retires. We've got all these emergencies again. It's like, are people that dumb?
Some are. What's up with the diesel? We were talking about gas. I remember they were saying 25 days left of diesel. Is that even?
No, that's still going down, especially more on the upper East Coast, now? Like northern East Coast. Is where it's really bad. Well, it's because all I'll put it back on me. It's because all the facilities that create diesel, which by the way, diesel is not flammable, right? It's by combustion. But what's happening is they've been retrofitting all of these especially in the Northeast, these like the oil comes in, right? And then these oil refineries refine the oil into gasoline or diesel. And because engine, like fuel for jets, is needed, they're retrofitting some of the diesel plants for jet fuel to keep people flying because we're running out of oil. We're not buying it. We're using our own strategic reserve. Saudi Arabia is cutting the supply, so the demand's getting higher. The price of crude oil is expensive. It's still in the $80, something like that. And they don't care, and they don't. And it's like, it's really weird because even Joe Manchin, who supported at the end, he got fucked over as a Democrat by signing that Inflation Reduction Act. And then he said, though, we need to open up some oil fucking place, like oil like fucking drills, and we also need to fucking keep some fucking refineries going for coal. And the progressives said no. And then Joe Biden just admitted on Friday, fucking in a speech, he's like, oh, we're getting rid of all coal. We're going to shut them all down. It's going to be all wind solar. And he fucking was pissed and he backfired on Biden so hard and put out a whole statement like, the president of the United States is fucking crazy. And he's a Democrat.
He's not wrong.
And he's not wrong. And he got fucked over. So like, these are like people, like I think it was the best said recently that I heard was that, why is energy so political? Like, it's not a political thing. It's a life thing. It's like the idea, like, I think it's a nice idea to find a better way to have energy. But on the way there, you don't stop doing what we're doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like to where, what's going to happen when the trains don't run? What's going to happen when the semi trucks don't run? What's going to happen when people can't even like live their lives or go get food, or the tractors are run off diesels? Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. Whenever I don't understand, I know that there's some dark force behind it, because it makes no sense, like zero sense. And Aquarius is about making sense of things, and it should all add up. And so everything that's not adding up is dark at this point, I would say.
Yeah, it's supposed to all add up, and it's supposed to work for everybody. Like, Aquarius is kind of like, we can all win here if we just cut that out. And there's a lot of people. What do you think the ratio is of electric to gas cars on the road? It's got to be like 80-20.
Right.
Like, that's not a win for everybody. Like, that's destroying families, that's forcing famine, not getting food to places from farms or wherever. Like, that's not Aquarian at all. It's not helping the problem. It's got to be an ease into any change of that nature. Like you said, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, and I forgot, I think it was Natalie, on full disclosure, I said with Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces, that rules fuel and oil. Of course, we've always seen big oil spills and shit like that with Jupiter and Pisces. But it's really, and especially when Jupiter and Uranus were in Pisces, that was one of the biggest oil spills ever. But it's crazy because it's Jupiter and Neptune. So this is like the oil town. You know what I mean? Like, people don't realize Pisces is oil town. And also the age of Pisces is oil town, right? So this is our time of oil. And this is the time, that means we're not being shown that they are sucking the most oil of all time. It's just not going to us. Mm-hmm. It's for the war, World War III.
Right.
That's really what the truth is. Like, the idea that it's being in shortage, they're telling you, we're shorting you, the consumer. Like, and if you understand, right, when you short fucking in monetary means, it's like, oh no, I'm shorting that shit. Mm-hmm. I'm hedging it somewhere else. We're not going to give you it, and we've hedged it somewhere else. Like, it's somewhere else being hedged for World War III. And all these new jets coming out, and the stealth new bomber that's going to be released this next month, or the B-21s that are all going to fucking Australia with all the nukes on them, that we're sending over 6 of them over there. Like, oh, they got oil and they got fuel for that. Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah. Plenty of it.
You know, I mean, they have nuclear power plants in all the big fucking cruisers and all the big destroyers and all the big fucking aircraft carriers. So, like, people don't realize, like, they're using nuclear fucking powered subs, nuclear powered fucking aircraft carriers that hold nuclear warheads. So then there's that whole nuclear thing where why they keep shutting down all the nuclear power plants too, which is like the cleanest of all the energy sources, you know, that actually produces enough energy. So they have no problem using it, and they won't talk about the military though. You ever hear about that? It's like, oh no, the military is clean. It's like, yeah, they're using nuclear all over the fucking place. But like the big thing is that, you know, there's a hidden oil massive drilling happening right now.
Yeah.
Because as an astrologer, you can't, like, this is where it's like Beverly Hillbillies, you know, like, struck oil, motherfucker.
And the deception behind it.
Yeah.
So there's oil out there, but there's a deception that it's not there, or that we're
and it's no Taurus too.
Right.
Like the idea that it's just gone.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of it.
And it's being sucked up as we're talking right now in hidden view.
Yeah, it's going somewhere.
Or think of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines. That was with Mars square Neptune when it was direct.
That's right.
Now as Mars is retrograding back, when it hits that 22 degrees and Neptune's about to come direct, right? All that's going to be exposed.
Nothing has really come of that
except Russia accused the UK.
Right.
Then Sweden has a report that they won't release to the public, to anybody. Right? And so the UK has been accused of it. But we have to remember the Five Eyes, the UK, the US, like France, like all these other countries in the Five Eyes, like the UK could have done it for the US, or the US could have done it for the UK, or
it's all the same.
Yeah, he's all the same. So the idea that, you know, there is no oil, or that they're not, it's a good deception, right? It's like they're not giving oil to the consumer-based refineries. That's what they're not telling you, is like, what the oil's going somewhere else. The oil's being stored somewhere else.
Pluto, Jupiter,
and
Saturn,
the military
Capricorn
would have a non-consumer or a non-citizen, because it's not part of the Constitution as much as you think, right? It's like they have their own division of their own code to things, and of course they have their own top secret stuff that they can do. So the oil's going to the military for World War III. And we're in the transit of Uranus, when FDR was making new boats and ships and planes and selling our old shit to the UK, which we're kind of doing that with Ukraine. Like, right, it's like, here's a bunch of old shit we don't use. The idea that we're giving really highly sophisticated shit to them is a joke. When you look at the list, it's shit that we would have used in Vietnam. You know, we're not giving them any of our fucking good shit.
No.
We're giving them shit that literally was it was already expired.
Take our trash.
Take the trash.
We got this new, we got the upgraded models. We got this new here. Don't say we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Don't say we didn't help.
Right.
And plus we gave you a bunch of money for you to launder, so.
Right.
Just fucking be happy.
But the other part is like the money is like allocated to go to them after audits and after a long period of time. So when the money's been set forward there, it's not like they've given all the money to them. That's the crazy part, is it's like over years of time. So it's like, that's scarier to me, because it's almost like you're planning on being here a while.
Yeah.
Like it's like nobody wants to negotiate. And Zelensky, to me, being an Aquarius that he is, and he's like an early degree Aquarius. I think he's like 2 degree or something like crazy like that, or he's in the first week. And I think he's Venus Sun conjunct. And he has a lot of weird aspects. And I think he's Gemini rising too, which is kind of, or Cancer. I think he's Gemini rising. And this Mars retrograde for him is not looking good. This eclipse is all these things, all the stuff from COVID, all the stuff, all of it, the fucking shots, all of it. It's just all Uranus is on the moon. It's exact right now. It's just all, to me, it's like a hub of just all of it finally reaching to the point, you know? It's fucking, I mean, like, you know, like it has to, the zits fucking that, you know, those online YouTube videos where those people get out like fucking, like whole zit has taken over their whole face and it's fucking huge. Yeah. And they're like, all right, we're going in with gloves on and let's get it. And like that's totally a total lunar eclipse in Taurus with conjunct Uranus. It's like, we need to make this shit pop now. And Saturn's like, oh wait, I think I got it. Nope. You gotta fucking get in there and start turning around this vein or this weird thing to get that pus pocket out. And then you could get to the white shit. And then you gotta push in this weird angle and push really fucking hard and it's frustrating as fuck.
And then after that, you got to go back to this other angle and get this side out. It's a process, but it's all coming out.
That's what's happening right now.
I agree.
That it is, or somebody put Dr. Pimple Popper. Yeah, it's like, I don't know why, but I always find some of those fascinating. Like I'm always like, damn.
I can always watch those and be like, how did all of that pus come out of that?
I know. Or how did it get to that point? Like,
how'd you even go that far? Yeah. It's interesting stuff.
But I feel like that's where we're at, where this is like the biggest fucking, well, and also Uranus is earthquakes and volcanoes. And
yeah,
it's funny. It's not funny, but there's a fucking tropical storm about to go through Florida with this one. But I don't think
that's
that's
common though, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of late in the season, but
yeah.
it's more about volcanoes now. I feel ready to erupt. And that could really be, especially in the southern hemisphere too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Peru.
Yeah, or the stuff about nuclear bombs and all that. You know, that's a huge possibility now.
I agree.
I mean, it was, but like now it's. And I don't think it would be like a big one, but all these tactical nukes, you know, or these like crazy drone. Fucking kamikaze drones with like a minor tactical nuke. We're talking like a little one that could fucking like.
It's like the whole thing is drone warfare. There's gonna be more like drone. I don't they have drone battleships now?
Yeah, that are meant for drones.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's smart, especially the Chinese have the sworn drones.
Right.
Those are no joke.
No.
Or those fucking robots.
Those are the scariest things
that go with the military and they go into the house and they can see through the walls.
I don't like robots.
And then they fucking go in and then they fucking can plant fucking tear gas, all this crazy shit. So like instead of it being a dog, it's like a robot fucking military dog fucking that does all the shit that you need, gives you all the eyes and ears. You could shoot at it. It's fucking bulletproof. It could fucking do crazy ass shit.
I know. I've seen like the human version of it that can like straight dance on perfect beat and do flips and like these things are fucking stupid.
No,
like,
I know, but like the little dog ones that China has where they're like sweeping and clearing with them. They're not just sweeping and clearing. They're fucking when it's sweeping. It's seeing everything, and when it's clearing everything out, and then it fucking can punch holes through fucking walls. So the idea of hiding, right? Like I'm gonna hide South Node Scorpio. No, there's no hiding. Like you know, like there's no hiding. Like this is fucking like this shit all fucking. Or I was in the military, like the fucking F-18s back then before they were Super Hornets, like in Maverick, fucking when they were 10,000 feet up, they could see who was in a fucking hut eating and cooking. So that was back in 2003. So fuck, that was 20 years ago. Imagine what they got now.
Mm-hmm.
The idea also with our phones and gridding out this whole matrix and 5G and all that, for them to really, the 5G shit was like so a doctor could do a surgery with robot hands anywhere in the world at any minute, instantly.
That's
one of their main things, right? They've already got the technology, right? So like, let's say you have a really weird situation with their heart. It's almost like they predicted this with the shot. But it's like, you know, they could get somebody who's the best at dealing with that certain valve, who could be anywhere in the world, and just go in a robot virtual reality, but with the cameras, and literally do the surgery with robot hands, and the 5G network is doing the surgery.
That's fucking scary too.
That's where they're moving everything towards. And I guarantee you that that doctor did not get the shot. The doctors,
right.
They told the doctors that are going to be part of that new thing, you don't get it. Don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the fucking crazy shit going on. Think about that. That's fucking,
do you think Biden actually got the shot?
Yeah.
You think they're just like, yeah, just give it to him?
Yeah, and I think they weren't planning that because he's all Scorpio, that Scorpios don't go down until they decide to go down. And he's got Mars in Scorpio, so it's like he ain't going down. And actually, it was funny. I was looking at Mel Gibson chart. You know, he's Mars, Saturn conjunct in Scorpio.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, because I was telling Sophia, my girlfriend, I showed her the Patriot, and I fucking love when he has his hatchet and he just fucking tears motherfuckers up. But I was like, there's just something like if somebody fucking came to my house and killed my kid and burned my house down, you know, I don't give a fuck if I had to cut the glass off these fucking Persals, I'd fucking be slitting throats of that motherfucker, you know?
Yeah.
And she was like, babe, I'm like, fuck, no. And then I thought of like how Mel Gibson will play all those kind of like, even in Lethal Weapon, like, right? And then I looked at his chart, and I'm like, oh yeah, motherfucker's got Mars, Saturn, Scorpio. Of course I relate with that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. But that's like, you know, I don't know. I feel like that's what's kind of a weird moment here for life, is that you can't hide from a lot of the shit that's out there.
No, it's like we got to at least witness it. I think we're all going to have to respond in different ways. But however that shows up in your life, don't be afraid of it. That's the worst thing you can do. Or like David said, hide from it. It's not going to work. It's definitely going to be action-oriented in some way that creates a better life for individuals. That means fucking stabbing someone with the lens of your Persol. Fucking do it.
I mean, I don't advocate violence.
I'm just kidding.
I advocate defense. You know, I don't advocate offense.
No.
Right?
No.
I only advocate offense on good things in life. But I feel, though, that Taurus, the winners are the ones who stay committed. Both Taurus and Scorpio are commitments. And Taurus is a commitment to doing it every day. Scorpio is a commitment that you make like a one-time big kind of like an investment, right? Like, I'm investing in this company and I'm all in, and if I lose, I lose. Same thing with Taurus, but it's like I'm investing my physical energy and I'm going to show up to it physically every day. Whereas like when you think of an investor or a venture capitalist, I've known plenty of them. They do their deals and then they just sit around and then they kind of they're working. It's just different. Like, they won't maybe hear from the people or the owners of that business that they invested in for months or years. They'll have a couple people they know kind of giving them the stats, letting them know if it's going bad or when to. But sometimes you can't pull out, right? So, but like they're always kind of, they're not there, you know. They're not checked into it. Like they're not even excited, and they play excited. Like, hey, here's the report, and da 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 da. It's like, yeah, all right, yeah, all right. Well, it's good to see you. I got another meeting. But like Taurus is like the CEO or the the person in your life, whatever you are, that you keep showing up to it every day and you're like putting everything you got. And it's not so much about the intensity, because it's the intensity that's through how long and how stable you are with showing up that it keeps building it. You know, if you show up and build a fucking Lincoln log house and you never stop with Lincoln logs, you can make a house out of Lincoln logs, or a real house.
Very true.
You know, but a lot of people are afraid of that.
Yeah, it's the fear that's holding people back from living their best life right now. I think that's the interesting part too, is we all kind of want this change and we're going to get it, but then there's the fear of letting go of what's known.
Right.
Because we find comfort in what's known. So we have to be able to move forward into a future that we really don't know what the outcome's going to be yet. It's like a slow process and we're getting the pieces as they come, and it's just like being okay with that.
Yeah, but I think that the gauge or the check on that is the natural divine way. So it's like the shot, for example, or the experiments. Things keep coming out that don't keep looking good every week, the whole time. That's not saying there's going to be a, oh wait, no, it was actually good. Like, you know, like it's the natural law and the natural divine way is, if the unknown is, there's still hunches that are epiphanies. Like there's a feeling that it's breaking through, not a deception breakthrough where they're hiding the information. All the information is transparent, it's clear, and especially in Taurus, it's got a natural flow to it. And it has a natural way of, like, even if it feels like a maze, it feels like, okay, I can make a turn and let me keep going. And that there's a feeling that I will get out of this, instead of a feeling of like, I don't know if I'll ever get out of this. Mm-hmm. That's not a good place to be right now. It's like, I don't think I'll ever get out of this. Mm-hmm. Like, ooh, I don't know. And also like trying to rearrange the natural way of the divine natural laws is forbidden. I would say it's always forbidden, but this is like Saturn in Aquarius, where Uranus and Taurus, and with a lunar eclipse on it, it's like, it's forbidden. It's forbidden. And you want to cross that boundary, that you think that you can cross these boundaries of changing DNA or changing people or frequency, fucking blasting them with unnatural frequencies, or doing all these crazy things and hiding in the South Node Scorpio. It's not going to reflect back good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Saturn's over there saying, sure, you can make these decisions for yourself, but there's consequences. Like, that's the thing too, is there's consequences if you're not sort of acting from a spiritually responsible level, like place and level within yourself, and really looking at things from a higher, you could even call it a higher dimension of yourself in Aquarius, like a higher aspect, and like making decisions from a higher self. And I think that it is a very important time spiritually to really pay attention. I think that's the most important thing is like spiritually, what do you feel your soul needs you to do right now? Do it, because if you can make the decision to go against that, but that's where there's ramifications for action, and you might get stopped in your tracks in one way or another, and that's where you'll feel like the block really is at, because there's a fear of actually creating something that your soul is saying, this is where your passion is, this is where you can go, but I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I can't let go of this way, I'm too attached.
Right, and I think that's a Scorpio way, and a Taurus attachment is just something that is necessary or really valuable that keeps it moving forward. Like, I have a moon in Taurus and a crusty old moon, so like I'll wait and buy the nicer product, and if it goes out or if something's broken, I feel fucking like it's got to get fixed. I can't push it. And Scorpio energy is always like, whatever. Like my emotional want to go out right now to have sex or to do this or is more important than whatever. Let's just, come on, let's go. Like, no. So like this is where the attachments to the really good things and the things that are necessary in our lives are good, not emotional stuff, right? It's like the stuff that is actually important, like food or your job or, the stuff that like really is working for you, but the emotional shit that's really just a fling, and that's where the South Node's pulling you. It's like, oh, I want to go escape into this emotional want, and that'll bring me ultimate happiness instantly.
It'll bring you a hit of happiness.
Yeah, but there'll always be, with the North Node and Taurus and Uranus, something knocking on your door like, hello, this needs to be done. This needs to be done.
Here's
this needs
a
to be
hit
done.
of happiness versus here's like a lifetime of happiness.
Yes.
Here's long-term happiness. Here's happiness that can keep growing. Are you going to give that away for the hit of happiness or passion or love or money or whatever it is? Gotta like look at longevity of everything right now.
100. Well, I say we take some questions for the last like 5-10 minutes here, and then we're gonna.
Yeah, you want to see where that eclipse is at?
Yeah, let's see where that eclipse is at. Put your questions in right now.
It's almost a full. It's getting there.
It's getting there.
Yeah, I want to look
for
at
us. It's around like 2:59 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna end soon. So put your question. If you have any questions, we haven't asked questions a long time. We're not doing phones, but we're definitely.
Oh, I changed the screen. Oh, I guess I could leave that up while we do questions.
Yeah, why not? Maybe you can zoom in on it.
I can
can't you?
Better.
Yeah, can't you? Yeah, there we go. Pop it out. And
shit.
Full screen that shit.
Sorry, I'm not left-handed.
Full screen that shit. And I can pop this to the left. Hold on. Boom. How is all this going to affect love in general? I feel like it's already known pretty good now that what feels good forward feels good, and that you can see a future with, and that is reliable, that you can see long lasting. Anything where you have extreme questions or you're looking outside for something else, just that's a bad sign.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be a great time for love because you can see people's souls so clearly now, and if they're in alignment with you, more so than ever, like just from like a couple simple questions, you can kind of really see like, oh wow, like yeah, actually we're pretty much on the same page, and then you can build from there. So I just think, it's harder to find that, but when you find it, it's easier to really go into it and to pursue it.
Yeah, and wanting to create together and make things together and be part of each other's lives physically. I think the online thing is not good right now as far as continuing or doing long distance relationships is not a good thing. You want to be thinking of it like a farm.
Yeah.
And both people got to be at the farm, and both people got to be showing up and figuring out their shit. You might want to scroll up. There was a lot of good questions that we just missed. I saw one about lockdowns in California again. No, I don't see that happening.
I don't think it would work even if they tried to pull it.
Correct. If you need support for High Vibe, it's highvibe.tv, and you click on support. And if it's for the app or subscription, the email's there. If it's for the school or any random other question, the email's there for that. But please read the FAQ. There's a lot of answers to figure out problems on the FAQ on highvibe.tv. And remember, if it's about subscription and it's through Apple, look in your subscriptions on Apple, or if it's on Roku, or if it's on Google, it's not through us.
What should a Pisces be most mindful of?
Not fucking their life up with Saturn finishing here in the 12th and it being T-squared, and not going into the past and trying to do past patterns that are fucking crazy and always bailing out.
What energy are you feeling right now?
I'm lucky for having a moon in Taurus and being a sun in Leo and a Leo rising, that, you know, I'm feeling the 10th, 4th axis really well, and I'm very focused on the long term of destiny and my career and my personal life that comes with that, but that first.
I'm feeling a lot of excitement and gratitude and just, I don't know, I'm just very happy right now. I'm
content in a good way.
Yeah.
But not like manic, like, yeah!
Right.
Which
no,
actually,
it's chill. It's
that,
a grounded,
that,
it's a grounded contentment and gratitude and happiness for me. It's like, I don't feel like I got to go prove it. I just feel it. I don't know. I'm pumped.
It's like a solid, good pumped, not like over Schwarzenegger shooting steroids pumped. Somebody asked, what chart do I use for health? I mean, I use the astrology chart. I mean, when it comes to health, that is a very intricate, unique process of how you do your own chart, or if somebody does it for you. There's a lot of different things, whether it's your 6th house ruler and what planet is the ruler of your 6th house, to transits, progressions to that progressed planet changing from progressed direct to progressed retrograde. What is that planet, and what you can count six different signs over from different parts of your chart, different planets. There's a lot. So it's more about how well you know how to slice and dice astrology than what is the specific chart that you use. You know, like I've learned through having panic disorder, where it was like I had a lunar return with like a sun in the 6th, and it had nothing to do about health, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where you have to know how to slice and dice it, and there's lots of different ways, and it's not always the 6th house that deals with health. So,
sometimes it could be the ruling planet of your 6th house that gets aspected really hard by a big planet or something. There's a lot of different things.
Big transit in the 6th that's making...
From your sun sign too, not just in your natal chart.
Yeah, like more than using your rising, but also understanding your sun sign, or even using, like in Vedic astrology, Mars rules the body. So, you know.
Yeah, whenever Mars gets into my 6th
Mars is the one that always causes health issues.
I got sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always Mars with me. And I'm Aries rising. It is what it is.
No, but but to be honest with you, like in my transits, whenever I've gotten really sick, it was always a Mars situation. And inflammation is ruled by Mars, muscles, tendons. You know, and Mars is the original ruler of what is being brought in and when it goes out. And Mars is the only thing that can cut off eclipses. And Mars is ruled by surgeries. So, you know, this is definitely a time with Mars retrograde to not be trying to do fucking lip injections and fucking go get some fucking crazy ass fucking plastic surgery right now, square Neptune. You would wake up like, oh my God, what the fuck happened? I look like a big ass fucking wide mouth frog fish. You know? Or the doctor was fucking, you know, on his 5th booster and couldn't see straight anymore and lopsided your titties, you know? Or, oh, I'm going to pull them out, so that's a good thing. Oh.
Yeah, right now is really a good time to be happy with what you got. You should be feeling confident and secure in yourself right now with what you got. If you think you need more.
Yeah. I see Josie asked a good question. I just see a lot of Geminis having it bad in Sagittarius. Yeah, I mean, Aaron Carter just died, and he was...
Oh, shit, I didn't hear about that.
He died this weekend, yeah. Was found in his house dead in his fucking... at 11 a.m. in his bathtub. And he's a Sag. So... that's definitely Mars-Neptune stuff going on for Gemini and Sages. So, and also all this 6th or 12th house Scorpio stuff and Taurus stuff, depending on how that is. I would say that if you're Gemini rising or Sag rising right now, or Sun and or rising Gemini and Sag, this is definitely where you relax and don't be doing drugs and don't be doing shadowy shit. And at the same time, like, you need to have a big spiritual fucking check with God about everything, whether you like it or not. Tired of being single too, but imagine being in a bad relationship. Yeah, I mean, there's always that. And I've said that one forever. But, when you see something like... And you have to be keeping your feelings and your emotions for creating love. Like, Taurus is also where we create love. It's the Garden of Eden. Like, it's where the lovers are Gemini, but the lover's garden is Taurus.
Yeah, and you really don't want to project into the future that the next relationship you're going to get in is going to be a bad one. That's not helping. For any situation. Like, if you feel it and you want to get into a relationship with someone, like, try it out, but don't have a bunch of expectations on it. Those expectations will bite you in the ass.
Yeah. No, I didn't see the guy's house who got hit with a meteor. I'll have to look that one up. Do you have any suggested reading material that would help with understanding our times right now? Anything regarding to alchemy would be awesome. I mean, that's what I'm doing in Hypergate 2.0, is whether it's the Mayan prophecies, the prophecies done through John Dee, through Nostradamus, through Christianity, to whether it's the Old Testament, New Testament, look at prophecies. You want to understand we're in a prophetic, fated time. So I don't think tarot is always helpful, but I don't think tarot is I don't think pulling tarot cards on what's going to happen is a good positive place unless the astrology is being used first.
I would agree. Someone who's on a similar spiritual path would be ideal for dating.
If you're spiritual, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a necessity,
right?
If you will.
Oh, I know we need a dating app, and I have it all figured out, but it's not easy to get VC money right now. And I'm not saying I can't manifest that, but I also I am manifesting high vibe first, which is bringing all people spiritually to a place that has a community. Like, the app just got rejected, and the guy who's finishing the app is fucking gone for 2 weeks, and his team's supposedly on it, and I've emailed him twice all weekend. And it's over a screenshot. It's not even the app fucking works great, and the community's on it and all that shit. And this has been a fucking hellish 5 months for me of getting the new app up that does everything that the website does. So it's any second, but it's patience. What are you laughing at?
Would you eat or touch a bug on camera?
No, I would not. Not into bugs. I don't know what to tell people about that. And I would never promote bugs or eating bugs or any of that weird shit.
This isn't Fear Factor.
No, but I think, it's crazy. You can tell somebody's a sellout when they're fucking doing the whole oh, look at crickets and all that shit. Fuck them. Have you ever thought about touching on esoteric astrology? I mean, I think that I have probably more hours of hundreds of hours of esoteric astrology school than anybody else in the world. So highvibetvschool.com.
Esoteric.
Like that's what people don't, I think that like people don't realize that not only like how much YouTube I've done that has just soared beyond any astrologer YouTube wise, or even doing talks and lectures that are online or any of that, but it's my school and the hundreds of hours that I spend teaching people and going through all the esoteric stuff. I don't do it on YouTube, you know, and I give a lot more than anybody else gives, but it's like, you want the real fucking deep shit? It's on High Vibe and it's on my schools, you know, and that's just real. Like, that's just me owning my worth. Like
every daily you put out is an esoteric horoscope.
Yeah. It's crazy to think. You've never heard me speak of the rays with esoteric. Rays are just one minute part of esoteric astrology. Esoteric astrology is esoteric is astrology. Astrology is esoteric.
They're one and the same.
Yeah. So anybody who's trying to claim esoteric astrology is just fooling you. You know? Like, don't get lost in the Stephen forests out there. They'll take you to a forest and then they won't own it at all. They'll back out. He still has me blocked. Remember, don't forget, Stephen Forrest pushed the shot on everybody and said that it was like every other shot. And when I told him, you're an evolutionary astrologer, like, what's your opinion of the transits and this? And he was like, why use astrology? Like, this is different. This is personal life. Like, I'm like, well, you're telling people it's normal when it's not. And he blocked me. And, you know, I just saw the NORWAC lineup and I laughed. I was like, they're really trying to do the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result.
They got whack in
they like Laura needs like fucking call Greg up, her brother, and remember some astrology. You know what I mean? Like fucking, they're too lefty, and they've become a complete extremist leftist. Astrology in the traditional sense, I guess you could say, or in these Chris Brennan circles, they are so far left. They won't include anybody from the right. I'll talk to anybody on the left and still bring them in and bring, you know, like Rick Levine and I can talk about things and debate like we're going to do at Conscious Life Expo again this year coming up. And, you know, there's cool astrologers like him. We can have disagreements on political stuff, but astrologically we can talk about it and still find common ground, still love each other and still hug each other. And, you know, but there's not a lot of astrologers out there in that world anymore, you know.
I don't know about Naked and Afraid, but I know Fear Factor, they used to eat bugs a lot.
No, see, that's Scorpio shit, right? Bugs at Naked
and
like
Afraid.
This is
it's very Scorpio.
This is Taurus. I got a moon in Taurus. That's just not my thing. Sorry to say. Like, I was never trying to make a naked bug eating network. That was not on the plans. When it was the Leo King app, or when it was Future Life in the app, or when it was now High Vibe, there was no naked shows ever thought about. That never even came to my mind. And when we did have one guy who was going to teach on High Vibe TV School cooking, and then he was saying that if you eat meat, you're going to fucking all die and all that shit. I'm like, you got to get out of here. And I had to get Craig at the time to ask him to leave. And I was like, we're not doing cooking. Because people get too spiritually crazy about that shit. Like, what works for you works for you. Like, you know, like I drink Sprite. Some people hate that, but some other people drink kombucha, and I don't like that. And I don't fucking, you know what I mean? You know?
My Taurus moon is disgusted.
I'll have one more cigarette and then we'll go. Somebody wants to see me have my last cigarette. I mean, I've been actually extremely lighthearted, but I don't know how to say serious at the same time. It's been really interesting. I just feel grounded. But, you know, when I'm not doing the work, then I'm laughing my ass off.
That's true.
Because I still believe that, you know, the Piscean energy we're under, and including this Saturn-Uranus square, the shattered reality is fucking so massive that people haven't seen or have been aware yet, that I'm not feeling comfortable when it comes to the collective's understanding of what's happening or what's already happened and the effects that are going to happen after. There's always a reaction that's going to happen to what's happening.
Any advice for a double Libra over the next few months? Rising and sun.
That you'll figure out how to get your life together. It's a little bit of a spiritual quest, and that's okay. While at the same time, this is about making commitments in your life and staying on them instead of always trying to own your own life or prove things in your own way. You know, this is not, it's through connection. That's your life. I would say Libra rising is trying to do it all alone. It's just stupid, and trying to prove things and trying to hold on to some sort of value system that isn't working for you. This is about massive change and a new life with the 6th house and 8th house being activated so intense. And the 5th house too, right? Like that's, you know, like your true happiness is when you go a different direction than you typically think. So.
Laughter is a good thing. Laughter is important. We don't need to take everything so seriously. You know?
Yeah, I mean, fuck. The best Taurus energy is the best comedians. So, like, but you can only be in a comedic place to, you know, keep chopping the wood, you know, or, you know, as a guy, and I think Brian can attest to this, when you're doing hard work, like it's when you're doing it with other dudes and shit, it's laughter in between it all that keeps it going. Or else
I wouldn't have been able to do the construction job I did for 9 years if we didn't laugh our asses off and joke and have fun and fucking make the best out of what we were doing.
Right.
And that is just a good metaphor for life. It's just make the best out of what you got. Have a good time. Laugh. Tell jokes. Don't take things so seriously.
Right.
And then get the work done in between. Like, it's important.
Well, if an eclipse is happening on your nodes and you just had your nodal return, I mean, you're either born in 85 or, you know, this is just your prenatal, like this is your prenatal shit. And this is also your postnatal shit. Like this is just part of the nodal return is the fact that the eclipses are happening on the node, that this is a major moment in your life of which direction it's a checkup on your destined place. And I don't, you know, like, I don't know where your nodal return is, if it's a reverse, like, you know, opposites or not, but.
Fun fact, this eclipse is in exact square to my nodes, and it's opposite my Pluto. I got a nice, big, fixed cross with my nodes, Pluto, Uranus.
It's exciting.
It's fucking great. And I'm here with you guys. Wouldn't have it any other way.
South node in the first house. Stop trying to do you so much. You need to see how you work with another person, and that you've proved your own way. You know, like you can still implement who you are in a relationship, but you have relationship situations you need to figure out and stop avoiding relationships. It's better to. There's no failure in a relationship. We learn from all of them.
That's the truth. I probably learned the most through relationships in my life about myself.
Yeah.
They've been some of the most potent teachers in my life about who I am and the direction of life I'm going. And I've been in a lot of relationships that didn't work out, but gosh, I wouldn't change it for the world because it really helped me learn so much about myself and getting me to this point in my life.
Somebody said that they're having the lunar eclipse on their moon. I had that last year at this time. And it was right after my dad died. And it was like a realization of like my personal life that needed to change. And the also overwhelming impact of what it's like to now live without a parent or a father for me. But whatever the situation is that's coming up in your life, it doesn't matter what sign it is for you when it ever happens to you, if it does, as it's also your lunar return chart. So it's in that month was very fucking intense for me, of feeling very deep in my emotions and very deep in trying to feel where things were going, and also in opposition to the sun. It almost feels like you're feeling opposite of who you are, but you still feel like you're who you are. It's a very confusing time that you'll work through. And when you get to some place where I'm at, like now, a year later, it's like, whoa, like I don't remember feeling that way anymore, but I can still remember. I don't think it's a dark night of the soul. I think it's the opposite. I think it's the morning sunrise of a new dawn in your life, in your personal life. And it's one that, you're leaving your dark night of the soul. You just don't realize that you just went through it. It's a realization that you're going through a dark night of the soul, that's finally the witness of that you have been through it, and that you don't have to keep doing that, I mean, I'll always do astrology live under the stars my whole life whenever it calls. It's not something I'm going to stop doing. But I think anything dealing with astrology, I'm going to stop doing astrology in some place. Like, I'm going to stop using progressions,
It's always something adds on. It's always another layer. It's never,
what up, Aaron?
It's never something that comes off. What up, Aaron?
Good to see you. Another fucking awesome fucking double Leo motherfucker.
I know. I want to go take some pictures of it. I do. I have not missed a photo of an eclipse the last 3 years.
Yeah, no, we're gonna go hit it. We'll do we'll do 3 more minutes of this. When your progressed Venus goes direct, I mean, you have to see if it's been retrograde for 40 years. I mean, welcome to learning how to realize life is not so bad. And that there's a lot of good shit.
Yeah. Relationships can work.
And stop being stingy, or it's going to take a while for that direct motion. Remember that, a couple years to where it starts moving. So,
hopefully when Venus, up until this point in your life, you really focused on building a really solid relationship with yourself.
Yeah, and others too.
Yeah. And I think that was the foundation that now you can really use moving forward as time progresses to relate to others in a really beautiful way.
Yeah, and that you don't need to keep using coupons. Like, coupons are the way somebody's got low self-esteem and value and worth and Venus issues. The only thing to use are rewards and points that you get back by the money that you spend. Those are true, like smart coupons. No, there's no SDM tonight. It's going to be tomorrow. Mañana.
Oh, look, I got some pictures. I saw Angie in chat say she just emailed him, and then sure enough.
I'll take one last question.
Saturn return in Pisces. That's a good question.
You're sloppier than you realize, and you're more lost than you realize. And when things get too overwhelmed, you always bail out, and you always thought that you were other people or other things bailed out on you when you were the one who bailed out. And that's going to be the big lesson, and not an easy one. And also a collective lesson that we're all going to go through too, but more so for Saturn return people who have Pisces Saturns is you always were the ones that bailed out. You were the sloppy one. You were the one who it just got too much for you and you bailed out. You didn't take the responsibility either. And you always project the responsibility on some outside force, or that it was destiny to have that happen in order for me to move to the next place, when really that's just a good way of you of not taking responsibility and putting it on something else besides yourself. And that you're going to see the control issues of that you don't have that great of control of your 12th house issues, like, or of your self-undoing, that you self-undo too many things. So those 94 and 95 kids, especially the 94s, they're going to get the beginning of the Saturn. That's, whew. I wouldn't want, you know. Especially, those 94 ones are too in a flip. When you're in flipped fucking nodes and the Saturn return comes, and this is a flipped nodes, South Node Scorpio, North Node Taurus, those 94 kids are going through fucking a complete realization of every place they fucked up.
I love what you taught in your school about that time, and I use it all the time with clients. It's like being on a 2-lane highway with a semi-truck and having to make a U-turn in life.
Oh, when when you go through your nodal reversal, when that's like you realize that you thought you were going the right direction and you really weren't, and then that's part of the Saturn return. For your first Saturn return is you're a big semi-truck and you have to make a U-turn, and it's not just an easy U-turn, and it's frustrating, and then it's the only way to get you to stop and realize you're fucking needing to be an adult and take responsibility for things that you never did, and that it's gonna put you in the hermit mode too. Saturn and Pisces are two big they're the biggest hermits that act like they're not, and that we're all not fooled anymore, and your secrets and your hiding of things, you're going to have to own the responsibility to that. That just didn't go away. That's a hard one. Or Saturn in the 12th house, people.
Yeah.
It's a hard ass fucking Saturn return.
Yeah, taking responsibility for all your sensitivities. Like
you
said, without putting them on someone else. It's always someone else's fault.
Yeah, and having tougher spiritual skin. And also it's delusional spiritual systems that are not working, that you're going to realize you need to find the ones that actually work. Saturn and Pisces people get obsessed with like manifesting, and in the morning I do this and I did it, and it's like like you're trying to control spirituality instead of actually flow with spirituality correctly. There is no structure that you create, right? It is, the structure is already created by the divine, and you don't follow it. And then you think you're following it. You have moments where you do, but you don't. That's the hard one.
Yes.
I'm just saying that Saturn Pisces is a hermit. Right? It's like you need to stop being a hermit. And they're the ultimate cloaks. They're the ultimate clones. They clone their identity and their structures to look like it. They're the great Oz who gets revealed, Saturn and Pisces. Right? So if you have Saturn and Pisces, you can't play Oz anymore, It's not working. It's not working. This is when Toto runs up under the curtain and fucking exposes you, and you're a little troll. Ah! Like that's Saturn Pisces, like people. And you have to learn to let people see, the only way that people can see your soul is when you own the responsibility that you're not perfect. And that's okay. Instead of, Saturn and Pisces try to be perfectionists and say that they know the best spiritual way, and they project onto others that, no, you're not the spiritual one and you're not doing everything right, when really it's like, well, at least the other person's willing to own it. Are you? No, never. They also don't know how to apologize. They don't know how to deal with situations to where they can actually like own it. Like, they don't know how to own it. They only know how to own what they want in their delusional minds and their delusional self. So, well, that was fun.
That was fun. Happy lunar eclipse in Taurus.
Happy lunar eclipse in Taurus, and happy last total lunar eclipse for 3 years. And tap in over the next couple hours to the feeling of the earth between the sun and the moon, to where it's perfectly aligned to where it's going to block the rays of the sun to the moon. Feel it. Feel the portal. Feel the hypergate.
Yeah. It's a really good opportunity to really check in with how your body's feeling, how your soul's feeling, how everything about you's feeling, and be real honest about it and make the changes necessary to feel better. If they're not good, and if they're good, then sustain what's working and keep going in the direction that feels like it's building that.
Yeah, and to end the Saturn Pisces thing, count 10 signs, which would be Sag. What do you have in Sag if you have Saturn and Pisces? If you want to understand your career stuff for Saturn Pisces, like what's also in the 12th house, which for Pisces is an Aquarius. If you have Aquarius stuff, that's going to be stuff that's harder about your Saturn. Or 11th house stuff in Capricorn. Those are going to be issues with your Saturn about how you deal with people and community. And, there's simple ways to do this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you have to fucking
There's
stop watching CoStar and Instagram and TikTok astrologers who are not going deep and giving you long form astrology content is where we can talk about these things and you can start to feel it. There's too much of this shitty shit out there. It's just like, and it's obsessed with just clickbait, like what's the best zodiac sign and shit. It's just fucking a joke. There is no best placement, right? Everybody has a different unique placement. And then it jumbles people who actually maybe what they say is the best placement might be your worst placement for you. You might be like, I love my Mars in fucking Aries, but you got a shit ton of Pisces. So it's like, well, that Mars, the 12th sign to that Mars is all that Pisces shit. So that how well is that Mars doing? Does it be used spiritually correctly? Does it, like, people are retarded with astrology out there. So,
and look at where Saturn's at in your chart too. Like, not Saturn, I mean Capricorn. What house does Capricorn rule? It's going to be playing a role in your return also. So you can look in that area of your life for the victim stuff, the sloppiness. Get that in order.
Well, and I think, you brought up the victim. I think with Chiron still in quincunx to the south node, this is not an eclipse where victims playing the victim role is going to build anything. A victim can't build shit. So a victim is waiting for a return on something that will not come. That's South Node Scorpio, Chiron Aries. Like, I'm waiting for a return because I'm victimized and the government might pay me because I'm victimized and that sucks because when it comes to this whole entire weird thing about the shot, they fucking made it to where you signed on it, and you gave your right to say, I'm not going to sue you and that we can't be sued. So you this is the hard part of this eclipse, is owning your value, but also owning what you've done and what you've created in yourself, or what is being created in your body right now, continually being created. And that's going to be something that I'm praying and I've been telling people to go find help for, that there are people out there that are there to help, you know, because I'll tell you right now, I think a lot of the panic attacks and anxiety disorder are people who got that, because there's an overwhelming, I mean, look at the excess deaths right now that the UK gut parliament now is finally talking about, that finally blew the lid off it into parliament, that the EU has blown the lid off of it. And the United States of America hasn't, because the Democrats are trying to hold the House, the Senate, because they don't want you to know. And so they will use the abortion thing till the day they die to make you think that you're saving a right that was never a right. It's not. It's got to be an amendment in the Bill of Rights. I'm not saying I'm against abortion. I'm just saying that if it was a right, then the people make the law through the legislature, not through the courts. You don't make a law through the court. So, you know, and the reason why it hasn't been made a law is because then you have to look at things like murder and stuff like that. That's what they don't tell you. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying that you got to think of, you're killing a human being. So that goes against, right? Like that goes into double jeopardy laws, that you can't be tried for the same crime twice, right? So that means that if they also ban abortion because they say that you're murdering, then that means that if you, let's say, get in trouble for having an abortion, then that means if it's for murder, you could argue in court that you can't be charged for murder against that you murdered somebody else, because you can't be tried with double jeopardy. Get deeper. Get deeper. Do some constitutional research. Like, go download the Constitution app and read the whole Constitution. Read it all. Double jeopardy is a real thing. And that's something that they won't tell you. You know, and that's why it's a hardcore debate, and it's a very weird situation. It's a weird issue. But that would be something that would have to be amended. We've made plenty of amendments. And it's the will of the people. Like, you have to realize that if over half the country, at least 66%, feel the same way, then it will be made law. If 66% of the people don't, then it won't be made law. And if you're on that other side where they don't make the law the way you want, you have to learn. It's like me. It's like, I fucking don't think that LSD should be a Schedule I drug. I don't think it should be. I don't think marijuana should be fucking in some of these places at the same time too. But I also don't do drugs anymore. So it's like, I really don't care anymore. Right? So, you know, like, it's one of those things to where we all are in different places in our lives. Of course, we got to think of the good for all people, and that's first. But these are things that the states, because it's not a federal amended law, that means that it's a state. So if you're in a state that doesn't allow it, then the way that this country was made was then you don't associate with wanting to be part of that state. Period. Like, California was the first state to ban cigarettes in bars. I was willing to smoke outside. And then they banned it in restaurants and every fucking place. I smoke in my own fucking studio. I mean, like, this is the stuff people are just lost. And the idea that you got your rights taken away, no. Your state took your right away if that's the way it is. It's not that the Republicans in the Supreme Court took your right away. That was that there was a law that it wasn't even a law, right? That there was a judgment by the Supreme Court to allow, in that case, in if you go deep into it, and just that others just wouldn't really, it was one of those like, well, like we could challenge it if we want. So like, let's just throw it up, and nobody did anything about it. And the Supreme Court didn't want every fucking time they go and start a new docket to look at that it's just like nonstop abortion cases 24/7. And so they avoided them all. And then it's like taking up, so now it's like, this is the way the Constitution works. The states, you figure it out, or the people in the legislature figure it out and amend the Constitution to do something. That's what they meant. But people got fucking Neptuned out into some crazy shit, and they don't even know the law, and they didn't even know what the law was prior to that. That there was no law. There was no law saying it's allowed. Right? That's the crazy part. You know? It was just that people were using their freedom to do it. And then if states want to get rid of it, then they get rid of it, and you, by your vote, change that. And if that's the most important thing to you in the world, then that's the most important thing to you in the world. You got like politics are a hard thing. Capricorn's a hard thing. What's more important? Capricorn's a very hard thing. Like, is your price for your house, your rent, your food, us having food, our defense. There's a lot of different things that are on the ballot, and you gotta realize like what's more important. I mean, if you think about it, California will take you any day to do it, or a state pretty close to you if you're in a state that doesn't allow it. So, I mean, is it really gone? You know? Think about that.
Think about that. Yeah, word. Someone asked who they should vote for.
I mean,
you should vote for whoever you want.
Yeah.
It's your right.
It's your right. It's your way. And I will say, as an astrologer, though, this is where we all have to pick a side. And I know it's not easy, but you have to, what side is on the side of good and what's on the side of bad. And it's not even the lesser of two evils. There's a good and an evil. That's what happens to this Neptune Pisces when it comes into Aries. And that's what happens with this Jupiter Neptune, is there's a side deceiving everybody. It's really extreme. We are pretty clear on knowing what side has been deceiving and what side's been lying and what side's been mandating your life. I personally, I'm voting always for the side that is against mandating and creating laws that are against the Constitution and my freedom of speech and what's in the Bill of Rights. You have to stay to the basics in Capricorn of the laws, like what's in the Bill of Rights, you know? And so, you know, when it comes to also the freedom of what I want in my body, like that's, I'm voting up and down the ticket where they don't give a fuck about a shot or all that shit. That's more important to me. When it comes to what you want to do with your body, I mean, it's crazy. You can do anything you really want to your body.
Yeah.
And you know what? When there's people who are willing to go to other countries to get crazier shit done to their body that you can't get done here, you know? So like, if that's the most important thing to you, or changing your sex or anything like that, then vote on those territories. But those numbers are very small compared to what the majority is not looking to change their sex. The majority is so extreme that you're talking about a very small minority that are trying to act like everybody's ready to go fucking cut their dick off. And there's no, I have no problem with people. I'm not transphobic. I'm not, I just like giving Capricorn and giving some facts, you know, like Capricorn is keep it with what's the rules and what's there, and how do you change the rules? You got to understand how to play by the game and play the way the system works. And people are upset that their individual way of how to go might meet restriction. Well, it's like, then do something about it and know the people to get in, or call your senators, call those people, get others to call it, get enough people to call that office to where it fucking is okay. We're going to listen. Like, it's very simple, but a lot of people don't even know how to do that. So, and I'll finish with saying, I don't know if it's going to be a red wave with Uranus. You can't make a bet. You can't make a bet.
Yeah. Go vote on what you believe in, and don't get too worked up if it doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, I mean, we already dealt with the 2020 election where Trump won that night. Let's be real. So, like, and then we all had to live with this crazy fucking regime that was installed in a weird way and was not natural and has felt not natural the whole time. There's nothing normal or feeling natural about this presidency or this party that has taken over. And so you got to realize that there's something way fucked up about it. And personally, the astrology verifies that. Women have rights.
Yeah,
the idea that women don't have rights is crazy.
That's the media.
That's the media, like
pretending like
you know what I mean. Like
women can go
like
build amazing things in this life.
Do anything that they want, like, but you know, like.
But that's a victim mindset.
Yeah, it's not going to work. The victim thing. Like, the last time that these abortion things came up was Chiron and Aries, and guess what happened? They didn't make it a law. They went to the Supreme Court. There was a ruling that somewhat allowed it, and even all the Democrats said, well, it should be very like, you know, emergency use only and at a very limited time. Now people are trying to say, you know what, one day before the birth, just fucking kill the baby. Is that murder or not? Like, that's a big question. I believe that there should be some sort of limit, not fucking crazy, but like, we're talking about fucking human life here. So where's that line? We all as Americans have to decide. And that's what the Supreme Court gave the American people to decide. Like, that's like, I think we all agree that a woman should be able to have her right to have an abortion. Just when is that moment where it's gone too far?
And there's always going to be places to get an abortion done. They didn't take that away. It's a republic. States that don't want it don't have to do it. They don't have to vote for it. But there will be states that will allow it, and there should be.
And a republic allows for a federalized system to where if it's where we all have the freedom of speech, well, if we all have the freedom to have abortion, then it has to become a law of the land and amended in the Constitution. And the fact that people just don't get that.
No one's talking shit.
Yeah, nobody's talking shit. I'm talking crap on people who don't understand the rights they're talking about. That's not right. Like you want it to be a right that's national, then it has to be in the Constitution. That's how it works. Right? The reason why we don't have slavery is because it was made law in the Constitution. Right? So, like, the idea of, freedom under natural law, I mean, yeah, you can fucking, this is going to be fucking crazy, but like, you have the freedom to fucking derange your body as much as you want. You want to just take a clothes hang, like the old time where you take a hanger and fucking shove it up there? You have the natural law to do whatever you want to your body. But it's just like, we end up in a psych ward from that. Like, you know, we also have to get to the bottom of where, like, look at the shot. There's aborted baby fetuses that are in there. What are they doing? Like, these are the things that we all have to ask because we all agree that women should have the right to have it. But it's like, where did it go when it got not a law and it was just kind of all over the place, and nobody wanted to say anything. And who was making money off it? And where was Planned Parenthood selling all the fucking parts of the babies to? The pharmaceutical companies? What? And they're fucking putting it in genetically altered fucking shots and shit, and synthetic aspects? That's fucking crazy. So it's more than just the right to have an abortion. It's the right to people who now have injected in their bodies aborted baby fetus cells. Think about that. That came from the abortions. So think about that too. That it's a debate where I'm all for it. I'm just saying that I think that this is where a republic works, right? It never was a law. It wasn't a law.
And to be transparent, nobody in this building thinks that women should not be allowed to have an abortion.
And I've clarified that multiple times. But nobody's...
This republic works, and there's a system in play, and it just is what it is. I hate to break it.
It's one of those...
Some places, some states are not going to be for it, and some are, and that's...
Yeah, it's one of those things that...
That's the beauty of
why can't we have the conversation like in life, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at it as a man, so I don't understand being a woman. So I'm never going to try and say, I think I know what's best for women. I'm looking at it as a standpoint as like, okay, they're trying to make it in some states now to where the time right before the birth, you cut the baby down dead. Right? Okay? That's fucking gnarly. Like, I don't believe in that. And I will stand behind that.
Astrologically speaking, on a lunar eclipse like we're having, if you're in your mother's womb, that's when you could say some believe that the soul enters that fetus's body. So if you wait late term, then it astrologically kind of is murder.
I mean, in a weird way, yeah.
That's a weird way to look at it, but
I mean, I think
it's something you should get done when you know, like if it was a rape induced, whatever the situation was. If you just got pregnant, I mean, and you didn't want it, it should just be one of those things that you kind of take care of.
This is unfortunately with Neptune and Pisces and Jupiter and Neptune. This was the slavery debate, right? It was like people thought that the freedom of our country was that they could own other people, right, and slaves. And the opposite side, the abolitionists, were like, no. Like, we're all equal people, that you can't own somebody. You can't own a person as property. And what happened at the end of that? A fucking horrible war. And at the end of it, we got rid of slavery. So when it comes to this, I'm not saying I'm against it, right? I'm just saying that I think it's a little bit weirder of a situation though, where it's like, there's people advocating for, killing a baby that's about to be born a day before its birth. That's fucking gnarly. So, like, these are debates that need to be had in the states and in the legislatures and where that shit needs to be looked at, right? And that's why the Supreme Court kicked it down, because it never became law. It needs to become a constitutional law, an amendment, or not, right? And that's got to be a debate between the people. And all these things got to be looked at. You can't look at one part of a situation in politics and think that's just the way it's supposed to be. You got to look at, like, well, especially for me, I'm like, why are they making money off selling the dead baby parts? And why are they then injecting it into people? That's the crazy shit. That's the shit where I'm like, what the fuck? So, think about that. That we got to think of what's fair. At the end of the day, laws are about fairness. So what's fair, right? What's fair to the child that's being born? What's fair to the mother? What's fair for other Americans that didn't even know for the last 30 plus years, 50 years, that all this synthetic genetic play around with DNA was using aborted fetus cells. That they were funding an industry at the same time too. So, okay, like let's find the fair line that works for everybody, especially for women. But, you know, I don't know what it's like to be pregnant, but I don't think it's one of those things in life that birth is something that you change your mind about a day before and go, I'm over it. It's kind of like suicide, right? It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, I've been through my life and at this moment, you know what? I'm just going to just shove a knife through my fucking neck. Like, what? Right? Like that's, you know, like you're just going to change your mind about a birth the day before and kill the baby. Like that's a different thing. And that's all I'm talking about is that. I'm not talking about abortion in general. I'm just saying the limits of where that goes, right? They like, you're allowed to drink alcohol, but if you want to drive a car, you can't ever have over a 0.08. You know what I mean? So you want to abort your baby. What's the point in where, you know, you're pulling out a baby that's crying and they're killing it? What's that point? So, like, it's raining right now.
Yeah, it just started pouring. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I think that it's that person's karma to deal with, however late these things happen. Personally, to be completely honest with you, not my body. I don't people do what you want.
Right.
Like, there's going to be laws out there.
I'm in agreement with that.
I don't know what to tell people. Like, do what you want. There's going to be a market. There's always a black market. You'll find, even if they did have some crazy law that said abortion, no abortion for everybody, it became a federal amendment, there's still going to be people doing it. So we all get caught up in these things. Like,
yeah, like there's people for years after slavery were taking, you know, people who were illegals or whatever and treating them like slaves and not paying them a fair wage and fucking treating them like shit and sometimes holding them in captivity or doing weird shit like that. So, you know, or, you know, so.
Oh, there's karma. Karma is a universal law. Cause and effect. It's a thing. If you don't pay for it in this life, you pay for it in another.
I mean, this is where, and I'm just going to, like, I'll leave the abortion thing here, right? So if you, like, think of, what was it, Sharon Tate, right? That the Manson family fucking came up, shot and killed her, and she was pregnant. Like, whenever you get charged for a crime of murder and the woman is pregnant, you get charged for that killing of the, you get way more sentenced harder, and it's a way crazier situation if the woman's pregnant that you killed another life. So think about that, right? So, like, I'm sure women get pissed all the time when they hear that a woman was pregnant and she got killed by somebody, right? Or in movies when they show, like, oh my God, she was pregnant and she got shot and killed. Like, damn, that's fucking crazy. That's fucking, whoever has the ball, whoever did that is fucking fucked up beyond fucked up, right? Let alone killing somebody, let alone killing a pregnant woman. Well, what does that mean when all these laws forever have been about that? That means that we have to I'm just saying, and I'm not putting anybody down, I'm just saying that means we have to rewrite the law that if you kill somebody who's pregnant with a baby, that you can't charge them for killing a baby because it's not considered a life anymore. That's what I'm trying to show. And that's where that convo, most people don't talk, and the media doesn't even talk about it. They don't even talk about that. But they have no problem being like, a pregnant woman was murdered today in Chicago. The man who's been caught shooting the woman is being charged, with also not just fucking murder, but manslaughter charges of the unborn baby, whatever it might be, right? So you have to fucking think like, okay, so if we charge for that, then that means if we're going to look at it like the day before birth of a baby, you choose to have an abortion, then that means that it's not a life, right?
Nobody said jail women for abortion.
I've never said anything like that. You can re-listen to this a million times.
I think you're just trying to argue for
I don't know.
Lilith about this, Lilith rising.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I'm not saying
true to your,
I'm not trying to, tell anybody that they should. I've said, and I've never once ever said anything about banning abortion. I've always said I'm on the choice team. So I've never once. You could go through my hundreds of hours, millions of, I don't even know. It's insane how much. I've never once. People who have been watching me for 10 years have always, hey, I'm all for choice. So like, I'm not on the pro-life, right? I'm on the pro-life, pro-choice plan. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be a fair middle ground. I'm a Pluto Libran. There's got to be a fair middle ground here. So, right? Like when's that line crossed? Right? Like,
and that's a hard debate.
And that's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to fucking be a dick at all. I'm actually fucking not screaming or yelling or being all crazy.
This was like the nicest argument.
Yeah, like I'm just trying to.
Live you've ever had.
Yeah, like I'm not even in an argument.
No,
I'm trying to show what people aren't hearing in the media, because it's really crazy seeing in Jupiter Neptune how I told you it would be the biggest propaganda of all time. And so there's all this propaganda, and they're not telling you about all these other laws, or about, there's a shortage in oil, but guaranteed they're sucking the oil out, and there's a world war happening right now that they also are telling you isn't happening, but it is happening. The fact that all these countries are banding together against other country, and all these other countries are fucking moving military equipment, and you think there's no world war, you're crazy. Right? So, the idea of like, no, it just should be just easy, and that was a law, and that we had the rights to do that. It's like, sure. I mean, I guess you could say that there was kind of like a, don't ask, don't tell law, but that's not really a law, right? It's just kind of like, you want it to be a law, you want it to be a right that you claim, like freedom of speech. Well, then it's an amendment. That's how republics work, right? It's not fascists that make a law from the executive and that everybody has to follow it, like the mandates, which got taken down, right? So the same party who is pushing that women have lost all their rights is the one that took their rights away and saying that you must get this shot. And let's be honest, look at the data of all the people who are pregnant or how many stillbirths there's been. There's been more abortion done now by the shot without people wanting abortion. Think about that. Look at the stillbirth rates of 2021 and 2022. They're off the charts. So start thinking about all the parts to it, and that I ain't saying this shouldn't happen. I'm just saying, where is the line of when if you're gonna fucking charge people with fucking, if they kill somebody and the woman's pregnant, as if that's a life in there, then think about then what? So you're allowed to, I'm saying from how, I'm not saying I believe this, I'm just saying that this is how people on the pro-life look at it, is the pro-lifers think, well, that means you're killing your own baby. That's what they always say. It's like, I think it's a different thing, but I think it's like, in order for that to be not used, there has to be an amendment, and that has to be clarified in the amendment, right? Like the Electoral Count Act is saying that the president of the Senate, the vice president, counts the electors' ballots of who the electors chose. And that the only time that Congress or the federal government can get involved is if they think the piece of paper with the ballots that are sent from the legislatures and the electors of each state are invalid or look like they've been weird. And then, of course, they allow for debate whether the House and the Senate get written in writing a challenge and then go to their respective chambers and duel it out there. If there's not enough electoral votes, then they have to vote for who's going to be the president or the vice president in those chambers. And they have to be somebody who's qualified, that's a United States citizen, born in America, and that is over 35 years old to be in those positions. So these things are clarified in amendments. That's what, like, the Constitution, these things were never law in that way. There was no law that said on the books, abortion's legal and it's legal up to only this point, and da, 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 da. States kind of had their own little things they were throwing in and out, and right? Which is the way that the country's supposed to work, but it's got to a place to where it's being infuriated where, come on, if you go to fucking Texas and you try and smoke weed on the fucking street there, you're going to get fucking rolled. You come to California, smoke weed, a cop is going to walk past you. So every state's different, right? You get caught with an e-pill in fucking California, you're getting a little slap on the wrist and going online to a fucking drug school for fucking a week or two. You get caught with an e-pill in Texas, you're going to jail. So it's different in every state. Remember that shit. That's how the country's built. So when it, that's our sign. But anyway, just to be clear, motherfucking David Palmer is pro-choice. So I'm just trying.
Jupiter and Capricorn, motherfucker knows the law. Motherfucker knows the rules. No, he's really good at that shit, and he's 100% right. It is what it is. Not everything's going to be the way you want it to be. That's life.
No, and it just see too much. People have to just understand what it is to get it to where they want. And I'm trying to help. I'm trying to help you show what you're up against.
Yeah.
And what the Democrats aren't telling you is they even know that. And when you have Nancy Pelosi up there as a Catholic, right? Like, you really think that, like even her own church won't let her take communion because of it, or Joe Biden, right? So then you have their religious stuff that at the end of the day, do you really think that she would vote for it in a weird way? Right? Like they had it on the bill in the legislature to start talking about it, and then they pushed it off till after the midterms. Why? When you have control of all three houses, the executive branch, the Senate, and the House. What? Hello? That's a little weird. So, because what you aren't hearing is the Democrats know all those little like law things, and they're already dealing with crime and issues with the law. That if they're going to create that as law, and then they're going to have to re-understand double jeopardy. They're going to have to re-understand trying somebody that kills somebody who's pregnant, that's not a life anymore. And then they're going to have to write the law that a life isn't until the moment of birth and the first breath. They're going to have to write it that way. And so that also means that the rights of pregnant women get changed. So you have to think about that at the same time too, right? So like women who do want to have the baby, maybe, and they could have had abortion in the past, but maybe this is the one where they're ready to have it, that you don't want to give away those rights either. But that's where the conflict of things become crazy. So anyway, that was fun. Fucking, but what a crazy life we live in. And I'm glad that we can, at High Vibe, we're here all about community and talking about things, and we're
Yeah. Someone in the chat said, I'm surprised that person didn't get blocked from the chat for arguing. It's like, look, Lilith Rising is allowed to have her opinion. Like, yeah, it's her right to have an opinion. We all have an opinion. We're all supposed to have a voice. We're not going to censor people. That's ridiculous. That's when things are going too far. you know?
Yeah. And, I've called people stupid before, retarded. I got somebody unsubscribed because they're like, you call your people retarded or stupid. I'm like, I really hope people realize it's more like of a extravagant way of just being like, come on, think about that. Like, we all can have debates. And this, of course, I didn't say it, but it's just like, because I'm on the same team. I believe in pro-choice. I'm a pro-choice person. So it's like, I'm not trying to argue with anybody.
Yeah,
right?
it's not like you think she's wrong.
Right? Like, if anything, I would have more of an argument with a pro-life person who was saying no to abortion. It's like, well, fuck,
Oh.
Like there's just times in life where you don't have enough money to have the kid, and it's not like they always say, oh, well, you can just give the kid to a place where they can be adopted. You know what? The crazy thing about those adoption centers now, those have been doing the weirdest shit to kids of all time, and fucking even experiments that we saw in the 80s with Fauci and HIV drugs and stuff. So I don't think that that's the answer either. And there's a lot of weird shit with the families that some of them that do it. I'm not saying all of them, but and also the people who take care of kids that are in adoption homes. There's great stories and there's horrible stories that go with it. Same with abortion, right? But it's.
I want to hear a spiritual take on even late-term abortion from me. Is that even if you waited until the day before you were going to give birth and you got an abortion, who's to say that there wasn't already a contract between both those souls for that soul to come in, be in the womb, to teach that woman something in their life, whether it was trauma after the fact, during the pregnancy, something about their journey in their life, and then that was their contract, and that was where the soul just decided, okay. So we can look at this a bunch of different ways about what's morally right, but in the end, there's a bigger picture behind everything, and we don't have those answers, and we get really caught up in worrying about what other people do. And you know what? Worry about your own self. If you wouldn't do that, don't do it. It's simple. But for other people, who's to say there isn't something bigger behind both the souls, the baby and the mother and the father, whoever's involved in that situation, for their own spiritual growth, right? So that's my hot take.
Think that's fucking spot on. I want to say, and this might sound crazy, but I feel that because the U.S. government's involved with the experimental shot, and that means from patents with Moderna to all these things, that they, like, think about people like Brian and I, or a lot of high vibers, or a lot of people that watch this channel, who, we didn't get the shot. We were like, no, I don't want to. It's our choice. And I think of all the people around the world, which, believe it or not, is smaller than the majority. Majority went and got it, at least one, right? And got told to, and got screamed at and yelled at. That I feel like this issue was to try and go back to, well, my body, my choice for women only? What about men and the shot? That I think that it should be the same, that the amendment needs, that if we really think about it, this might be a God gift, that the Roe versus Wade got overturned, so we can create a law that not just abortion, but all mandating of what the government tells us of what to do to our bodies, right? Like, if you really think about it on a deep level. And, of course, the abortion one goes a little bit weird when it comes to there's another life involved, right? So that's got to be having its debate. But I think it should be that the government can never try to, well, they can't. That's the whole thing, and that got overturned, right? And also, I just feel like it took away from, it's not just women, it's also men. Like, think of, whether it's me or my brother or Brian or people I know who didn't get it, and how much we have been fucking attacked, especially me having this network and my YouTube channel has been attacked, and my Instagram and have been fucking brutally attacked for the last year and a half to 2 years. Fucking hate mail, death threats, FBI showing up here to protect my ass. Like fucking crazy. Because I chose to not get a fucking experimental shot that I'm not by law required to get, and that I am not taking an experiment that they don't know anything about, that they can't. It takes at least 5 to 10 years to know. That just sucked the air out of all those people. And you don't see anybody fighting for that. You don't see anybody on the media fighting for that. Anything that's coming from the media is a fucking to use you. So whether it was Black Lives Matter or whether it's fucking now the abortion right thing, it's like, look at the laws to understand, you know? That's why a lot of people are like, you know, I think Kid Rock said it best. It's like, hell yeah, Black Lives Matter. They always have. What fucking school did you go to? Where were you raised? Like, we've been in a time where, you know, we don't see people as their color. We don't see people in these different lights. We don't see people as whether they got a shot or not. We never did until this Biden administration. So, like, this is fucking crazy shit. And just as much as it's my body, my choice for women, it is for men too. You have to realize that they push this shit, that you can't go to a fucking store, you can't go to a fucking place, that you can't get a job. They did that for all corporations with over 100 companies or 100 employees per company, right? That's reaching to over 67 to 70% of the country. Small businesses only make up, 20 to 30%. And so, like, fucking think about that. Think of all the men that, I know families that have moved states, moved everywhere they can their kids so they don't have to get it. But the media doesn't talk about that. And you don't see me trying to go and fight and start arguments with people, right? Like, because I'm going to find ways to do it by speaking my truth and stay in my lane and know the value of it and know other people that are in alignment with that. And we're going to find ways to expose that truth and find ways to make sure that that doesn't happen again, instead of crying and complaining and screaming about it. We become serious about it, and we put content out, and we do things, and we meet up, and we do things to stand together and support each other. And that's a big difference than screaming at people in a chat or screaming on the media because you see a camera and making a fucking, crazy, moment that adds to an agenda. The same people who made an agenda with the shot are making an agenda with this. So that's something to look at, and it's sad that, I'm not going to, none of us are going to play. You know what's so funny? The unvaxxed, we don't play victims. But the vax did, right? Oh God, the unvaxxed can spread it to me more. The unvaxxed are dirty. I had one of my best friends, his fucking wife's family was like, he's like, dude, I'm not supposed to be here. He had to lie saying he was here. And he had to be like, dude, I can't be around unvaxxed people. I'm not allowed. Because they won't let me back to the hotel. I'm like, what? You're my best friend since we were 18 and 19. Yeah, dude. I'm like, whoa. You want to talk about, it's not even racism at that point. It's higher. It's like fucking beyond what's even imaginable. That was all based upon a lie. So they're both connected, and it's you know how many men have killed themselves in this pandemic? You know how many men have lost everything and don't know what to do next and have, tried to be strong and support their families and move them across the country and move them from home to home, trying to fucking stay away so they can protect their kids and protect themselves so they don't feel like there's some fucking crazy person trying to hover over them and force a needle in their arm? Like, I fucking went to the rallies that were at the end of 2020 and beginning of 2021 that were all about, I'm lucky that I live in a county and I'm lucky I live in this part of California where they didn't get all crazy about it. And they were on the side of like, it's your choice. But 70% of my county went and got it anyway. I think it's actually closer to 80. But they also didn't get weird on people who didn't get it. But that that's what you have to look at I knew they were going to say that when I was saying it's like, why can't, like, my body, my choice. If you said that in 2021 about anything, oh no, you get to get the shot. You don't have a choice, right? Like, or you lose your job, or you can't walk into the store, or you can't go to the DMV, or you can't go do this, or you can't go do that. Or think of everybody in Australia. Think of everybody in Canada. Think of everybody in the UK that couldn't leave their house unless it was like 1 hour walking a day. Like, wake up. The most tyrannical fucking shit has happened. And you're going to vote for the team that fucking does the most tyrannical shit and think that you could trust them with abortion rights? That doesn't make sense. They're just using you for a vote to keep tyrannical ways and project tyrannical on the other side. Trump didn't ban abortion and didn't force you to take a shot. So these are things that this lunar eclipse is, like I said, it's all converging. Pay attention to all the streams that they all lead to one sea. That's Uranus. And that the idea that there's just one stream that leads to the sea, your stream, is crazy. That it's all the streams. And how do we find the best way for all of them? Instead of, focusing on just your own individual self. That's Chiron and Aries. So I'm willing to fight for rights for women as much as rights for the unvaxxed, and rights for people that in all places, and Second Amendment rights, and all these, and freedom of speech rights, and fucking all of it. Are you? Or is it just one part of yourself? This is where it's asking for us to see clearly the streams that we all will not have tyrannical stuff put onto us. All of us. Not just you, not just one gender. Even when it comes to trans or when it comes to the LGBTQ, I am all for them to do everything that they want. Marry, love, change, do whatever they want. I've never been somebody who says anything against it. So I'm a 100% spiritual freedom person. And I just want to make that extremely clear. I have never once ever taken the side of going against any of those things. But when it does come to school children and allowing them to make those kind of crazy choices, but they can't even make their own choices about going to a tanning salon because that's not allowed, or getting their ear pierced, right? Without being 18 or being able to drink a beer or buy cigarettes, like, hello. So that's what a way to end the show. It was a good spiritual daddy, bro.
It was good.
It was very lunar eclipsey.
It was very eclipsey. It started out one slide and it ended a completely different one.
So,
but it was cool to do the show during the whole thing.
Yeah.
We were planning on looking at it, but then we weren't meant to go look at it, apparently.
No.
It started raining hard.
Well, we can go still see it right now. So anyways, everyone, make sure you're on highvibe.tv, of course, to subscribe and be on our apps where you can get all the special horoscopes, especially like I do deep astrology every week, all my dailies. There's so much content. Of course, also to watch Full Disclosure, where we can talk about all these things in more depth. And I don't know, there's so many other shows. I'm just like lost. There's so many people, there's so many shows. Brian came up to me today like, oh my God, we have so much content every week, every day. How do we manage different sections of it? Because there's so many sections. That's how much is on High Vibe. And our new app literally just, it's all done. It just got submitted and the App Store just wants a couple screenshots changed and then it goes live. And it's set for automatic when they say yes. So any day, the new app, we already have an app, which is great, but I'm saying that has a community on it to where you can make posts, and we are freedom of speech people. So you can be on the website right now with your membership and already make your own posts and start putting up your own stuff. And people can comment on it and all that. That's going to be in the app. And also live stream we have on the app, but we're going to have live stream with chat on the app. Mm-hmm. And it's a whole redesign of the app too. So a lot of cool new features, a lot of more customizable stuff, and make sure that you're a member. That's what where all the real stuff is. And if you want the real deep, long form, is highvibetvschool.com. And that's where I do all my crazy schools that are intense. And from the most basic to the most craziest stuff that nobody's ever gotten with astrology, it's all there. And I'm doing a class right now, Hypergate 2.0. And Hypergate 1.0, all 40 plus hours of that, 8 classes at 4 to 5 hours a piece is only $100 right now. So you can get on Hypergate 2.0 when you're done with that. I appreciate you all so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Appreciate you, Brian.
Appreciate you too, bro.
Adios.
Take care, everybody.